What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Monday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. You too can look as good as us, or look your absolute best by going to gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can get $15 off a flannel purchase with the promo code Peacock. We are also going to be giving away a Muskox flannel with my earnings from the Tigers losing the division to the Guardians.
Boo.
And to win this, I think the best thing to do, Jason, is to have listeners send in a picture of themselves, their ugliest photo, with their best photo. We have to see contrast. It's really unfair to the good-looking people if, they're up against somebody who's just ugly. There's got to be contrast. I got to see you at your worst shot, your profile, the shot that embarrasses you, next to a shot you're really proud of, that you look fantastic. You got to send both photos with the hashtag MuskoxMan. Well, actually, it could be a woman, too. So we'll just go, screw that hashtag. Just hashtag Couch in the Rube.
Switching hashtags already?
Yeah.
We'll get it into the show.
Couch in the Rube Muskox. Couch in the Rube Muskox.
Oh.
There we go. Couch in the Rube Muskox. All
Make
one
it
word.
longer.
Couch in the Rube Muskox. Make it hard. So this is for the really dedicated folks. Couch in the Rube Muskox and two photos. One of you at your best. Doesn't have to be the one you love, and then one you're absolutely ugly.
Let me get a pen. All right, what was the hashtag again? Say it one more
Couch
time.
in the Rube Muskox.
Oh, okay.
And
capital? You have to capital letters?
No capital. We'll find it. Just Couch in the Rube Muskox.
And ampersand, throw an ampersand.
Yeah, no, none of that stuff. Right. So just that's our thing. You have till the end of this week. So anytime this week, and I'll mention it one more time, and I'll keep the hashtag the same as we continue to mention it. How you doing, man? Caw, caw. Instead of boo, boo, caw. No? It's going to be a show. I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
What's up, buddy? Yeah. It's not all caw-caw. I mean, the Lions saved our weekend. Thank God. Lost a Scooble start with the Tigers, so we're down two out of the three. It was a bummer kind of a weekend. But, again, thank God for the Lions anyway.
We have about 80 to 100 listener takes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I should just get to them, right?
Well, no, we got to do our own.
You want us to start, spin zoning this?
No.
I got this guy, JR Jr., in the YouTube chat here. He's like, hot take. Fire the Rube before he can say fire Jonathan Smith. And I'm like, Junior, do you listen to the show at all? I don't want Jonathan Smith fired.
You're not a quick to fire guy.
Listen, I can understand. I'm also not a guy that really wants to give him the $30 million instead of buying him out. I'm not saying fire him. I want Jonathan Smith to succeed. I just don't see any juice in the program right now. So it's just, there's two different things. You can be pro and have Jonathan Smith make you eat some sort of crow. And I'm willing to do that, but he's not doing that right now. So let me just play this so you can do it.
Caution. You are about to
Spin us, Graham.
Spin Zone with noted newspaper columnist and radio host Graham Couch.
MSU fans deserve better than the Spin Zone today, but I'll give a little bit here.
All right.
The toxicity is beyond certainly what Jonathan Smith deserves, right? It is. If you go online, it's like
don't go online.
Hold on. What I'm saying is, this sort of toxicity would have sunk Tom Izzo in 1995. He lost to Detroit 3 straight years to start his career. MSU fans would have missed the last 3 decades of Izzo had they taken this approach with him. Now, that said, and I think one of the things that I wrote this in the column about the idea that every game feels like a referendum, and there is a part where there's just no in between. It's like this. You can't even have a season. You can't even let things play out week by week. It's already, this is what is. He has to be fired. There's no room to this doesn't look great. Like I think that's part of the issue I have with some of the comments, just on the idea that let things play out a little bit. The man still hasn't coached a second game against Michigan. All of that said, this was a really concerning, I would say disheartening performance for people, and one that for a lot of people hopeful that Jonathan Smith's the guy, or hoping they move on and have been out of his camp for a little while, disheartening. Did I say disheartening already? I might have said disheartening. But certainly reason to it exacerbates those reasons. It exacerbates those feelings.
Sounds like you're at a loss for words.
Sorry.
You're like out of spin for this thing.
I have no spin for this. I'm sorry. I'm not going to spin it.
There really isn't. But can I ask you real quick, though, those that you read, some of the comments, any of those people do you respect other than Matt C?
100%.
Really?
There are lots
so
of
people
want
Jonathan Smith fired.
That's the thing. There are lots of really reasoned, smart MSU fans who are either out on him or
out or don't believe like me. Like I just don't believe it. I'm
somewhere in between. Somewhere in between, or one or the other. Yeah. I think one of the things that they're 3-2. They're playing a season where it was always supposed to be a season that was about getting some momentum, and they don't have momentum right now. But they're 3-2. They're 5 games into a 12-game season. He's 17 games into his tenure. The problem is when you play USC and you lose, that's a game you're going to lose 9 out of 10 times on the road. That's an understandable loss. And they didn't lose that game, I didn't feel like, because of coaching. They lost that game because they weren't as good as USC. This was a game they lost where they looked less prepared than their opponent coming out of a bye week, although Nebraska tried to give it away too. They didn't look any worse at the line of they didn't look any worse at the line of scrimmage. It looked completely winnable. It was a game despite all those things, they led in the third quarter. They had come back to lead. It was a game they should have won based on everything you saw at the field on the field between the two teams. And they didn't coach that well. And they made a number of mistakes coming out of a bye week. They just looked like an undisciplined team, and they didn't look like a team that had a great game plan. I thought the offensive approach, what really bothered me from just a watching football standpoint, was the offensive approach when you have Nick Marsh and you have Omari Kelly and you have Krishan McCray, who's got speed, and you are continuing to push the ball downfield into the wind or with the wind at your back, and it's not working. You got to feature those guys. Those guys are your difference makers. Those guys are your weapons. And Kelly had 3 targets. Most of McCray's were downfield. I think Nick Marsh had 6. Like, that just can't happen. And, you know, this is the one area in football, and I'm not a football savant. I am not somebody who knows, who can and watch a game and watch the All-22 and know exactly always what went wrong. But one of the things I have very little tolerance for is somebody watching football, having covered Western Michigan, having lived in Kalamazoo, was the one thing that coach did well for sure, Bill Cubitt back then, is he could feature a wideout against anybody. He had a third-string quarterback pretty much at a game at Virginia that was in the top 25 with Greg Jennings, and so they couldn't really throw the ball downfield, but Jennings still had 16 catches. They just found a way to get him the ball. They worked, they built, they featured him, they moved him around, they built the offense around him. And you're just not seeing that. Like you have guys on your team that real difference makers, pros, weapons that you've got to find. And some of that, look, Childs did not play well. And he reverted back to last year in terms of his eyes looking around, and the pass protection was bad. One of the ways out of that is a quick passing game featuring guys moving around, and you have to build a game plan to do that. And granted, you know, maybe you show up and the wind's worse than you thought it was going to be, and it's harder to do some of the things you want to do. You've got to adjust. You've got to find a way to feature. That, to me, of all the things, like it was interesting, Jonathan Smith talked today about the special teams, and I think they had bought into the idea that was a real strength of theirs. And Nebraska then noticed a vulnerability and took advantage of it, and that's something they got to be very careful of. They try to be, he's not a guy, we talk about his lack of emotion. They try to be he tries to be somebody who, win or lose, is even-keeled and self-evaluating. But I don't think they were with the special teams, and it bit them. And they've got to be better in that sense. I just think for all their blunders and all the things that went wrong, the fact that if they had just simply had that approach with the passing game, I think they win this game. I think Childs has a better day. I think they find some rhythm, and I don't really understand why they didn't. And you know,
what did you think of Smith's comments after the game about the offensive line that Solari tweeted out there? I thought that was interesting. Was it a guy caught up in the moment and said something like that? Because there's no way that he would say something like that today.
Correct.
Right?
He said it differently today. He said after watching on film, it was worse than he thought. The protection was the problem, and I think we all sort of saw that. And maybe
because I hate to say it, it felt like one of those moments, like a coach saying something like that, and you're going like, "Oh boy, here we go." That's not a good sign.
And it's interesting because he's a former quarterback, and I do think he sort of sees the game as a quarterback sometimes. So one of the things he talked about was not just Childs, but where Childs is supposed to be standing matters too. Like if the offensive line is expecting, you know, this amount of feet drop, 7-step drop, and you're at 9.5. Like there are times where I don't think he is where he's supposed to be or was where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But the edge was not set. They struggled there. The right tackle position was a real problem.
Well, you mentioned a former quarterback, and it's like with Brian Lindgren and talking about Marsh, because we say it all the time. It's like you should be getting that guy or throwing it his way every other down, I think, Nick Marsh, that is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, why is he not, for some reason, getting targeted more? I mean, just throw the ball up to him at some points and let him do some sort of magic, especially if he's single covered. I mean, I don't understand some end arounds. Get the guy, get the ball in his hands, however you got to do it, no matter how bad the offensive line is. Run a friggin' wildcat or something if you have to with Nick Marsh as the quarterback. Throw them off if nothing else is working and the offensive line is breaking down constantly for Childs. But, yeah, Childs made some terrible throws in that game, but, you know, are you going to sit there? I'm more concerned with why isn't he targeting Marsh more and just throwing it up to him when things aren't working out and you can't find a guy open.
To me, Nick Marsh, and I understand he was ill a little bit during the week, and that's a whole different issue. These football players, they put their hands in their eyes and their nose and all this stuff. Like, that's a germ issue. You got to teach people that.
We're all ill.
That ought to be like,
we're all getting some sort of flu. Like, what are you talking? Come on, man.
Freshman orientation for football players needs to be do not touch your face, okay? That's how you get sick. Never touch your face. And if you're an important player to the team, don't be around. When somebody coughs, you get out of their way.
Is this COVID all over again? What are you talking about? These kids are like 19, premier athletes.
Yeah, don't touch your face. That's all I'm saying. Just if you don't touch your face, chances are you don't get sick. Yeah, he should be targeted, you know, double digits, 12, 13, 14, 15 times a game.
Yeah.
Every game. 6 is just not something.
Is Lindgren going to speak this week? I mean, I'm saying, like, you don't have to harp on these guys if they can sit there and talk. And like, why aren't you getting Nick Marsh the ball more? Let's hear it.
I think Childs and both coordinators are going to talk this week, so that'll be good. And I think, you know, to Smith's credit, there's been some accountability. People's frustration with Smith is twofold. One, the football doesn't look that great. It doesn't look different year to year. They don't see progress.
But it's not just Smith, though. It hasn't looked good for a while, Graham.
And
that's unfortunately Smith's problem now.
Yes, this is
taking the brunt.
So
for 10 years of inept football,
he is unfortunately, yes, he is a product of people. This is pent up frustration. This is for, you know, and you know, one of the things that helps me is, and look, I'm not telling you shouldn't feel that way. It's been a frustrating most of a decade. It's been a frustrating few years. You watch your rival really rise, regardless of how they did it or what you feel about that. They won a national title, right? You've lost a foothold in that rivalry. The coach you hired coached his worst game last year in that rivalry. And meanwhile, your program just doesn't seem to be taking the steps towards that level of football and a level that you once knew. But a lot of that did start before him. What he took over is part of the issue. Hang on, give me some Hoff for 1 second.
Off. Where did you go? Oh.
I am the passenger.
Peacock.
And I ride and I ride.
I'm
sorry. That's pet peeve.
I got you.
I love Rob and Alex, but they're very loud here. I had to shut the door to the studio. I just can't. You know me. I cannot focus.
You're hearing it well because your headphones are up louder than most.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't deal with it.
Anyway, I thought you were looking something up. I thought you were storming out or something. It's like, all right, I'm out of here.
I'm not taking off.
Okay,
I'm back. I'm back.
Yep.
No, the issue. Look, the issue is twofold. It's what's transpiring under him, and it's what he took over, and how long things have been going. And I get that, but that's where the emotional impatience and frustration begins with people. Yeah. And so that's a really hard thing to overcome. And he's not the greatest orator in the world. He's not somebody who connects with how he speaks or how, he's just not he's not a guy who's an easy social connector, right? And so when things
So is that a
going
guy
well,
that you're excited about running your program in a 2025 scenario where you got NIL and things changing rapidly? That's all I'm saying.
Doesn't matter if you win. Doesn't matter if you win. But they haven't won yet, and people don't see a path to it, and they're frustrated, and so.
But your description of Smith and his personality, it just goes, explain to me what would be the worst case scenario for a personality for a head coach for your college football team that you root for. And if you describe that guy, you'd be like, is that going to work here?
A lot of guys have stuck around. If
15 years ago, yeah.
Hold on. If a lot of guys have stuck around, if you like playing for the guy, if you trust him, we don't know what he's like in a living room. And in the NIL area, you can argue it's better because resources matter more than Lamborghinis and swagger.
Okay.
So I'm not saying, what matters for Jonathan Smith is that he starts having his team have performances that show competence, that occasionally overperform, that show progress instead of always being defined by shortcomings, right? And that's what he needs to happen to win back the fan base or to keep those who are hopeful still with him. And, the other question is how relevant all of this is, given, there is a new athletic director, but he's got this massive $33 million buyout that, people talk about,
That's massive.
That is huge. It's huge. And you better be right if you're going to do that. And the other thing, if you're going to lay off, a decent percentage of your university employees, and then you're going to be able to come up with $30 million for football, you better be sure you're getting rid of a guy who, I just think you're not there yet. I don't. And I know a lot of people are, but I think, unfortunately, some of it stems from this being more than 17 games for a lot of people because it goes
But what
back.
could the final record be to get there this season? You're just saying no matter what the record is this season, do not buy him out. Put that $32 million buyout money and let him cook and let him work. I just don't know.
There's always the Bobby Williams scenario, right? If you go 0 for the rest of the way and the team quits on you and there's just no you can have
Marsh and Childs are already fighting against each other.
They're not fighting. You have to pull the ripcord, and but I will tell you this I want, if you think about D'Antonio, his worst, if you think about, and that was early social media days, I think part of the problem is you just and I try.
Was there juice back then?
I try to do this. There were murmurs about getting rid of Izzo for sure. Middle of 97, 98 or 90. Yeah,
It's the American way.
After the second,
Except America has gotten soft.
there was a poll in the State Journal. And there was an article in the State Journal, which, by the way, I am quoted in as a teenager. Amazingly, I went back to find this. It's embarrassing as hell. I went back to find this. I was like, because Ebling had talked about this poll.
Yeah, fire Izzo.
And so I don't know if it was a formal poll, but it was like an article on interviewing fans, and somehow I got interviewed. And I have no recollection of it because I went back in all our archives and I finally found it, and all of a sudden my name popped up in the middle of it. I was like, God dang it.
And that's the taint.
But if what was going on with him was, and I'm not saying Jonathan Smith is Izzo. A lot of guys, when it doesn't start quickly or doesn't go well early, won't make it, won't be the right answer. You do have a new athletic director. It's unclear how he feels about Jonathan Smith right now. But, again, it's 5 games in, and there's just no in-between right now. It's like guys either fired, no hope. There's no room for –
So let's take the fired, the no hope out of the equation. I'm talking about just juice in the program right now. Out of UCLA and Michigan State on a Monday right now, who has more juice in their program?
Well, Michigan State's in a far better place, but UCLA has more juice because they just won a game.
They won a game.
That's one day.
They got Neuheisel's kid as offensive coordinator, carrying him off. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but all those guys.
I'm not saying the future's bright for UCLA.
UCLA is firing every MF getting carried off the other day is about to be fired. UCLA, they've still got no fan base.
Got to find the right coach.
And they're going to have to find the right coach. But they're no. That place is in a bad spot. You can get caught up in the moment. This was a really bad moment for Michigan State football. And this was a bad game. And you can't keep having those games. But 5 games in, there was a chance they were going to lose at Nebraska. There was a chance they were going to be 3-2, and I'm not.
Hypothetically, let's say it looks terrible on Saturday. UCLA comes in and beats Michigan State. Then where are we at? Right? Then do we have to just wait through the season?
What do you mean? Okay. Where are you at? I
don't know. I'm not. Where are you at? I know where I am at currently right now. There's no juice in the program. I'm not excited about it. Do I want the guy fired today? No.
I want to see.
I got to be honest with you.
I want to watch the season play out. I want to watch the season play out. I want to watch how they handle this weekend. I want to watch how they go to Indiana. I want to watch them play Michigan.
Okay.
I want more data. This was a bad game on the road.
I'm okay with that. I'm just asking.
They haven't played a home Big Ten game yet. Let's see them. Let's see them
3-8
play
against Big Ten opponents.
Well, it has not been good yet. But
that's all I'm saying. It's just there's no juice. There's no excitement for the program. The recruiting thing is above my head. I know they're 27th for the next year for the 26th class. Is that good? I don't know. Is that juice? Should I be excited about that? That's all I'm saying.
Let's see where they are. It was interesting.
Sure.
Today they had a kid who, quote unquote, decommitted, who never committed, a 4-star receiver. Again, I would remind people that nobody's committed in college football at this point. 0 commits. Michigan State has the same amount of commits as Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, everybody. None of these kids committed. They live on emotional whims too. You do need momentum. You do need this month to look better. But again, it's if you think you have a competent coach. And all right. you owe him a ton of money anyway, and let the man try to build something. It's just part of the problem is today, and I understand you don't need as much time as you used to, but given where they took over the program, it's really hard. Given the state of the program, I do not think Curt Cignetti takes over Michigan State last year and is in the playoffs. I don't think he does. I don't think he is. Even if he brings in all those guys.
Yeah, but you don't like him though. You just hate him.
I don't like his scheduling philosophy.
You don't like his face?
No, I like his face. I don't like his scheduling philosophy. He's got a stupid-looking face.
Yeah,
that's one of those
about him.
tenets that drives me absolutely nuts. All right, what's your first take?
Iguna Yaba Gita Jared Goff.
Well, we might as well talk about something good yesterday. Let me ask you something, Graham. In your 46 years on this earth, what is the best offense you've ever seen in the NFL? 2,000 Rams?
Yeah, or
greatest show on turf, right?
95 Lions last 7 games of the regular season. Herman Moore, Johnny Morton, Brett Perriman.
The Lions lead the NFL with 22 touchdowns scored in 2025, producing 13 passing TDs, 8 rushing TDs, and 1 punt return TD. The only other team in NFL history to produce those touchdown totals through the first 5 games of any season was the 2000 Rams. The greatest show on turf. Ben Johnson, who? Is what we're saying today on this Monday.
They beat the Bengals.
Listen, man, Jake Browning was tough at the end there, especially when you lose every single cornerback you have on your roster. Hopefully Rock Ya-Sin and Arnold are going to be all right, but yeah, it wasn't great at the end. It wasn't the finish that we wanted with Jake Browning, but Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are good. Yeah, it's a win against Cincinnati, but hey, we're moving on. We're going to Kansas City.
It's exactly where you want to be.
Yeah,
4-1. Out of a stretch, you should have been 4-1 out of. It's a really good. Look, the Lions are in good shape.
Sam Laporta looked great yesterday. Jared Goff,
they look like a team that's in the middle of their window, and that's great because there was a lot of the windows over talk 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I would remind people that see. Here's the thing.
But after that Packer game, we talked about it. The season wasn't over, but God, that was a terrible start to your season. The way they started, they came out.
So, but think about how you said that. I think that's important. I think that's important now with MSU. I think that was important then with the Lions. And look, we're doing a take show, so fly off the take. We're asking for takes. I'm not criticizing the idea of having a take, but it's this definitiveness that there was a lot of. The Lions' window is over. Not, boy, that's not a great look. There's a lot of, right now, Jonathan Smith can't do it. They're not going to win another game. Instead of, boy, that really was
Fawcett Liquor was tweeting that out.
It's not really promising.
Yeah, and but those are people you don't really care about.
Well, there's lots of good. That's the smart people saying it. And
no, like who? Nate, give me one name. Bill Simmons? Wait, he's not smart.
Yeah, we'll go through them here in a second. Do we have anything on the Tigers before we get to that? Do we want to do?
You want to get depressed about the Tigers?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers gambling update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
I mean, what can you say about it? It's losing a Scooble start.
That's all right.
Sucked.
They're 0-3 against the Mariners.
Can't hit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Big Dumper. Big Dumper's a dumb nickname. I'm sorry. Not even hating against Cal Raleigh. I mean, great. You hit 60 home runs as a catcher. The Big Dumper, is that a nickname that you would want? What if your nickname was the Big Blumpkin?
Well, after today's hot takes, there might be a few who are going to. I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit. It was an unfortunate situation in our most
quote.
recent. Yeah, it was not.
I could have swore we talked about a Blumpkin before, but we've done so many of these shows that it all bleeds together. But it still made me laugh.
I don't remember the Blumpkin conversation.
That crazy ass.
Previously.
Anyway, but yeah, so go Tigers. I mean, it just sucks losing that game too.
It's
especially with School Bowl, but
it's not great.
Come on, boys, let's start hitting here.
All right, let's dig into these listener takes.
Oh yeah, I need those. Hold on, I got you. Whoop. Yeah.
While you're pulling that up, sorry, I didn't know you're off your game here. While you're pulling those up, a reminder: if you are looking for ways to watch the Tigers, to watch the Lions, or even to watch Michigan State, and you want to watch multiple games at once, so you don't have to just watch Michigan State, Xfinity has the multi-view. They've also got great packages for cable, for home internet, for mobile as well. And their coverage area for mobile, same as Verizon, better deals. Okay, go to Xfinity.com. You can type in your address, see what's available for you. They're great with customer service. Just I was telling you guys just last week, I had to make a quick switch, upgrade the cable package for a game for SEC Network, so I could watch a game with a buddy, and boom, did it quickly. Right away, we had the game. It was great. Actually got a better deal, now paying less than I was before. Go to Xfinity.com, put in your address, and chances are they'll find a deal for you better than you can get somewhere else.
Boom. I got it. Let's go. Eric Schultz up first. Number one, that was as critical of a column Number one, that was as critical a column as I've ever seen from Couch. Rough start. 2, MSU has a better chance of going 3-9 than they do 7-5. And 3, if the billionaires and Jim Hios feel like they are going to have a seat at the table with picking the next coach, Bat'll have no problem raising $30 million to send Smith packing.
Pound the bushes.
That's right, Hios.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch. If I'm gonna have to watch myself, my resentment toward the billionaires is gonna be something I'm gonna keep an eye on. Because
let's read about it.
If you're not gonna give the previous coach the resources ever to do it, and then you decide, because your little ego.
Is it okay when something doesn't feel right though? I mean, can you have that thought?
100%.
You know what I mean?
You can be really concerned about this. You can think that Jonathan Smith's probably not the guy. Look, my dad said to me after David Thomas missed 2 free throws to lose to Temple in 1997 in December. We're at Breslin Center. Yeah. I don't know if Izzo's going to make it. Right? And I remember that very vividly.
That was a hot take back then.
And, but he didn't have Twitter. My dad didn't go back.
Right.
Fire off the Twitter machine. And then they won. And you know what they did that year? They won the Big Ten championship. But they had lost to Detroit 3 straight years. They weren't very good. It did not look promising. And so it's fine to have those feelings. And I think
that's a man talking to his son, Say things out loud you don't mean sometimes.
This is a safe space. Nobody else hears this. Just you, me, and the listeners. So
like 1,000 people.
We're good. We're good. Yeah, unfortunately for people, it's a few more than 1,000. Don't. Yeah, if you have private thoughts, don't say them here.
Or if you want your job being told on air.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell Couch.
I may do that. The idea that they're more than 2 ideas. The column I wrote, I didn't think was overly critical. I just tried to lay out the situation.
Well, for you, yeah.
If you go back to the end of the D'Antonio era, 2019 was some real. It felt like
impossible not to even
every week.
Chris McCoskey couldn't spin that shit.
The better chance of 3-9 than 7-5 right now, I would say that's really close.
Be honest.
Well, the
lie
idea,
detector test.
Because that's losing to UCLA, which I guess could happen. Yeah, I would probably say that is true. Yeah.
C.E. Sekenga next. If today's Twitter sphere existed in 2009, everyone would be calling for D'Antonio's head, and half of those defending him would suggest he needed a new DC. Not saying Jonathan Smith is or isn't the guy, but building a strong roster takes time and or money. He's not had enough of either.
Yeah, the bottom line in college football, and this is my one issue with the anti-Smith stuff, is that it still takes a minute to reshape a roster and build a roster and develop a roster in a sport where you got to have older guys to win. And he has not had the NIL resources that some other places have had. And so, again, The problem with this week, however, is that you went into a place where you weren't at a talent deficit, and you just didn't look as prepared and didn't coach as well, and that's the problem. People can deal, they may not like it, but people can deal with the talent deficit games that you lose, as long as there's a plan to eventually equal out that talent or get there where you can compete with them. What they can't stand is when it looks like it did Saturday. You just can't have too many of those.
Owen, I have a really hard time trusting this MSU team to put together a complete game to find more than one win on the schedule. If you at best they only win one more game, then I don't see how Smith is coaching next year.
Yeah, sorry, I should edit that better. One more game, so they're 4-8 at the end of this year, that would be a pretty tough go, especially if it's this weekend and you lose your final 6 games. It gets tricky. The thing is, again, you've got to have the will. If something like that were to happen, would you and that's the thing, like.
But 4-8, and all of a sudden you're like, for next year, you're like, all right, here's $30 million.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this is going to come off the rails to the level some people think.
All right. Matt C. Number 1, firing a coach in season never works, Graham. It took UCLA's interim coach 1 week to do something more impressive than Smith has done in 2 years. MSU football's a joke. And 2, it's official. What Alan Haller did to MSU football is on par with what fascists did to Europe in the 40s. Complete and utter destruction. And baked. My only hope for the MSU football team is, since none of the billionaires wanted John Noel Smith here, and they'll cut the $30 million check to get Ned Flanders out of here. Time to root for 3-9.
Hey, why don't you just keep John L. Smith, buy a few defensive ends, and maybe hire back some of the guys who have been laid off at MSU? I mean, it's just fucking football, Like, how about the rest of the university? Do you care there? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is where I get a little like.
It's just sports.
It's just sports.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, it is my job. It is my life.
I was about to say, then why even do your job? Why do we have to read your shit then?
It's the system.
Big boy football now. Why can't we be in big boy football? I don't understand why it's so tippy-toe. I feel bad for Jonathan Smith getting the blame for the past decade, but Jesus, man, you talk about it like it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, how dare you even bring up the thought? Like, it's just there's no juice.
But even Haller knew that his legacy would be tied to Jonathan Smith. So whatever happens with Jonathan Smith is going to be.
You can't fire Haller.
And he's already out there. But like if Jonathan Smith were to have a really successful tenure, the way Alan Haller's perceived, years and decades
Nightingale.
away changes.
He's got Nightingale.
Oh no, he has some things on his resume that are good, and there have been some. If Robin Freilich has a really good tenure, I'm not. Alan Haller will be, even if Jonathan Smith doesn't work out, or even if Jay Batt doesn't give him the time to let it work out, or whatever they decide, he will still have some wins on his resume, but ultimately you're defined as an AD by what you do with your football coach, and Jay Batt knows that too, and so he'll have to figure that out. The one thing Jay Batt has going for him is that this is not his staff hire. This is not like he has every AD gets at least one football coach hire in them usually, and so he has time to, he has the excuse to let this play out because that may be the wise thing to do. It may be the financially prudent thing to do. And then when he pulls, nobody's going to blame Jay Batt if it's still a year and a half from now if things haven't worked out, and that's when he makes the move, right? There also is the financial implications to it, and it's. But again, I just 5 games in, this was a bad week, and there were a lot of bad games, and there need to be some good ones. There need to be some promising ones, but it's just, to me, it's just unhelpful, the toxicity that kind of goes with this right now, this idea that it's – and the UCLA's interim coach, he beat a team that was bummed out on after a loss to Oregon, flew across the country and no-showed. And, we saw it with Harlan Barnett. They won a game, it happened. I'm going to tell you right now, I think UCLA is going to lose big to Michigan State. I think they're.
By the way, another breaking news.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh just scored again on Boston College.
There you go. There you go. That team has quit. That Boston College team.
What happened to that team?
They just quit. They quit. They've got a lot of injuries, but
Holy
they quit.
shit.
That has gone badly.
Should we just be betting against Boston College?
They got Clemson this week, and I think they're only like a 5 or 6 point underdog or something. Maybe it's more than that. 9, whatever it is. It's like you do look at it and you go, maybe that's I don't know.
Matt Salisbury next. They might not win another game.
Yeah, I think they're going to win big this week because I think UCLA is going to be drunk till Wednesday. They're going to fly across the country and play a 9 a.m. start. And we'll see. I mean, maybe it could go a couple of different ways for UCLA. Maybe this is the invigorating moment, and they're feeling good about themselves, and they're going to keep it rolling or at least try to. The other side of it is that was their moment, and this staff isn't going to be around anyway, and it falls apart from here.
David Jackson next. I cannot believe that MSU had no better option at right tackle. That was D2. That was D2 stuff. And my God, the special teams coach has to go. Kicking into a 40-mile-per-hour wind, our deep return men were, well, actually deep, leaving the kickoff to be fielded by a couple of linebackers. Sheesh.
Well, and the other thing is that the linebackers did not that should have been Sam Edwards' ball, and a teammate kind of came in and got in the way, and so that there was a miscommunication there, which is part of the problem. But the right tackle thing was real, and I think they got to put Connor Moore back over there. But you just look. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was, I watched the game back through, and there are moments where you watch the game back through, and there are plays where at the time you do think, boy, that's on Ashton Lepo, for example, and then it's not really. But there are a lot of plays where it was rough, too.
That's why you crush tape. Mark Gamache next. Oh, for the Big Ten is a real possibility. Good coaches lose when they get beat. Bad coaches lose because they beat themselves. You tell me which we've seen this season.
Well, certainly this last game you saw bad coaches beat themselves. You saw some defensive improvement. I think you saw some good coaching at times against Boston College when they won a close game. But, yeah, this whole season, these guys are getting paid a lot of money to build a program and to win. They're going to have to look – it's going to have to look different. They're going to have to go to Indiana and have it look different. They're going to have to play Michigan and have it look different. They're going to have to go to Minnesota and have it look different. Like, it's got to look different. But they've got 7 games left to do. I just don't buy into the idea that it can't, like that this staff's incapable of it. And that's I think, the difference. Now, I know a lot of people are just out on him, or they don't like his personality, or they don't think he has enough of one. But I don't necessarily think this staff – I don't think this is a bad staff, but they did have a bad week. And, again, those you just can't have too many of those.
Andrew Gauthier, cold take. MSU's O-line is a serious problem. Hot take. With the addition of a 5-star center and another strong wing, MSU Hoops is looking at its strongest class in a couple decades. And bonus, college football commercial breaks our ass.
The Izzo, recruiting-wise, has been man, that guy's still grinding. It's pretty amazing.
Go in the China closet.
You know what I think separates him from like the way Boeheim finished is there is still, I think, this fear.
He's not as grumpy.
Well, no, but what I mean is Boeheim, I think, lost the love for the grind. And he was never a grinder the same way. He was a home by 6 o'clock guy. But I think there's still part of Izzo that fears he can lose it all. Like, I think that fear of losing the talent, of not working his ass off, of knowing he didn't work his ass off for every recruit drives him. It may eventually drive him into the ground, but at age 70, he's I just hearing his schedule and the recruiting. I was exhausted last week, and it was pretty impressive.
It's the American way, except America has gotten soft.
Dave Lakin, after watching a weekend of college and NFL football, I find that the NFL is much more watchable than college. Whoever manages the TV contracts for college football needs to adopt the NFL rule for TV timeouts. Please.
Yeah, the Big Ten and SEC need to have the courage when they have these negotiations to demand that the product is packaged better. And I understand these people are paying a ton of money and they need the money. I mean, they're talking about needing more money. That's why there's talk of private equity coming in. So they only have so much leverage in this case. But the long-term viability of this sport relies on a better viewing experience than exists today. And they've Just got to do something. It's a lazy approach from Fox right now. It's greedy and lazy, but it's mostly lazy.
Jebediah out Nebraska in Nebraska should be a fireable offense. And bonus hot. Bryce Underwood is more athletic. Andrew Maxwell.
Is it more athletic?
Yeah, talented kid, no doubt, but way too spicy on his throws.
So and I had done that comparison early on, this type of throws I had seen from him. The big difference is Maxwell, by the time he became a starter, was like a redshirt junior. And that was an issue for him. Bryce Underwood, yeah, definitely has some heat, definitely needs to work on touch, but he's a true freshman. And I don't know that that's necessarily going to be an issue for him the way it was Maxwell. In year 4, Bryce Underwood is still throwing with way too much heat on certain passes. Then, okay, that's an issue for Bryce Underwood, and it may be something that's long-term. But, that was an issue for Maxwell deep into his career.
Moneybag next. This team looks no different than a Mel Tucker team in terms of mental mistakes, discipline, and preparedness. All three of those things have nothing to do with having talent. It's inexcusable. And bonus, if you're right that Smith gets 3 years no matter what, we're less than halfway through. Things better improve in a big way, or it's going to be a long year and a half.
See, my big question for people, too, and you're right, both of these are on point, Moneybag, is are people rooting for it? Like, one of my... I sense there are a lot of people that are rooting for Smith to fail, not just Matt C., but like who want change to the point that they'd rather have change than see Smith succeed. And that's a weird place to be. Wouldn't you rather just have the football coach you have succeed? Right. Now, if there's a fear that he's not the guy who gets you where you want to be and he can succeed enough to retain his job for a while, and that then that's a fair way to feel. But I also sense this sort of feel out there that no matter what, this guy's got to go. I'd rather have somebody else than this guy succeed. And that's kind of a weird take to me.
Scotty Green's El Camino, number 1, the lack of preparation and special teams disaster is concerning. Even in D'Antonio's down years, the teams had more fundamentals and tackled well. Jonathan Dry Rye Smith should be worried. Am I the only one that feels he doesn't seem totally bought into being at MSU? And 2, Jonathan Smith is about as exciting as a tax audit. Talking to him must really tickle your feathers, Couch. He's one bad loss away from losing this fan base. And Aiden Childs sucks under pressure. The floor is lava anytime he feels pressure. Oh, and fuck the O-line. I like the last part. Oh, by the way.
Yeah. A lot of feelings there. Childs has been really good before this game. He was not good the other day, and I do think the wind was part of that. And I wrote in the column, I remember the Connor Cook ascension year where he had a couple good games, and then they played Purdue, and they won 14-0. He looked just like complete ass. And then the next week, he was 15 for 16, and they beat Illinois 42-3. Like, its progress is not always linear. I'm curious to see what Aiden Childs does next, because he had been legitimately good this year. So I'm not going to write off Aiden Childs, but he reverted back. I think the wind got to him, the pressure got to him, and that was not a good.
Were the winds
moment.
High all game, or was it like a certain half?
Yeah, no, it was really really.
But wouldn't you adjust to try? That's what I mean.
That's
like
the issue.
Marsh of just trying to get some.
Yep, totally
break off routes. Or
inexcusable,
something.
and that's concerning. Like, I think Brian Lindgren's had a pretty good year till now. I thought he was very good at USC, but he was not good in this game, and it was in what seemed obvious. And again, we've talked about this before. The worst thing you can do as a staff is screw up the obvious stuff that every fan can see, and or every dumbass writer like me. And that to me was, I know coaches who would have done more and would have had a better result with the weapons at their disposal in those circumstances.
Jay Brew next. John Smith's program quits during adversity. We saw it at the end of 24. I saw it again with 2:30 left in the third when Raiola converted a 24-yard pass. This staff is now 3-8 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but the last year it's not really his guys yet, right? And again, you can't wait for people. When you're talking about, none of these coaches have time to really build culture. I'm not going to hold any coach early in their tenure, be it Smith or anywhere else, about what it looks like at the end when the guys you brought in are mostly a few transfers and freshmen, right? That's not really I think there are lots of things to look at, and I don't think they quit in this game. I think they screwed it up. Yeah, I still think there's fight and fire. If there's not, we'll notice it. But I didn't see that in this situation.
David P. People forget that there is one man on the planet who had any remote success with DJ Uiagalelei as their quarterback, and that was Jonathan Smith. Let's maybe give the man a well-rounded roster before we set ourselves back 4 years. Quickest way to success is through Smith, not starting over.
It's a reasonable take. We just don't know it yet. And
well, it's reasonable to you because that's your take.
Well, no, it's no
time, and it's like
I don't know that it's my take yet. I'm not saying that either. I may sound like it because it feels like I'm defending him because everything's so stark the other way, and I'm trying to give alternative points. I'm not all in on Smith being the guy who's going to take MSU football, to where people really want it. I have.
But you want to wait till the end of the season.
Yeah, I want to let this play out a little longer. I want to let the man have time, what he was hired to do, and what I think he did a decent job at his previous stop, and I think he's got a pretty competent staff, and if it does not play out that way, I'll write that. But, one of the things in my role is you get one chance to write that column. You get one chance to you write once that this isn't going to work, and you don't say it before you know it.
Uper Carl next. 2-7 in conference is looking best case scenario for MSU, which will make 22-25 the worst 4-year stretch in MSU conference history at 10 through 26. At 10 and 26 at 28%. 1980-83 was 10 and 24 at 29%. Also, 5 and 13 is the second worst 2-year by any coach behind John L. Smith. 3 and 13 in 2005-06. Has to be time to make a change.
Well, let's see what the math is at the end of the year, right? And again, when he took over. Well, then it's
4 and 8.
Then you got to try. Yeah, if it's really bad, then you have those conversations and you look at what's feasible. I think it's one of those things you'll know in those sort of circumstances if the momentum's gone, if the team were to sort of quit. I mean, what was the thing that got Bobby Williams fired in the middle of a year and really spelled the end for him, right? When they asked if he'd lost the team, and he said, "I don't know," right? And that was it. You can't, you kind of know it if that sort of thing happens. This team's 3-2, and if they beat UCLA at home this week, which they're favored to do by 7.5 points, they'll be 4-2 at the midpoint of a season, and they've got to win 2 more games to get to a bowl game, which I think by most people's approach most people's thoughts would be progress.
But when you first heard Smith's comment about the offensive line post game, like we talked about earlier, the one that Solari, did any part of you were like, Because when I read it, I go, oh boy.
I knew he
not gonna lie.
I knew he wasn't. I knew he'd see differently when he watched the film. That's what I knew because I was pretty confident. Because what happened is when it started becoming an issue, I started really paying attention to it during the game. Like I'm watching. A lot of times I watch the game like I do watching a game that I'm just watching to because I'm gambling on it or a fan or whatever. Is I'm watching the ball and I'm watching that whatever. But if something starts becoming a theme during the game, you're trying to figure it out. So you're watching the offensive line in particular. You're watching the replay of the line.
But you're watching it from up there where Jonathan Smith has a field view, and as a former quarterback, you think you would notice the offensive line was
I think the field view is sometimes worse. And that's why coordinators sit up high. Because the field
should have been a lawyer, dude. You're good. Well, you have to understand the angles here. It's not a good angle for Jonathan Smith.
It was not a great comment. I knew as soon as he said it, I was like, he's wrong and he's going to take shit for it, and he probably shouldn't have said it.
Dan Grave next. Number 1, James Franklin can't win the easy ones now. 2, at least MSU has 6 months of basketball that people care about, right, Graham?
Absolutely.
3, Childs and Marsh will be gone next season if something doesn't change. And bonus, no reason to buy out Jonathan Smith and the coaching staff. Instead, give them $30 million for them to use in transfers and recruiting. Smith has a history of double-digit wins. They have done it once, and once with 8 wins. So maybe Smith isn't as proven a coach as we are led to believe.
Yeah, this is right the dilemma. If you're going to spend the money, where do you spend it? And again, this is the rev share era, and so what does that look like too? You have an AD who's committed to doing it through legitimate NIL and the rev share, and this is the first year of the rev share. But most of the teams they're playing against, or some of the teams at the top they're playing against, got a lot of their players rev share pre-July 1st. And so what next year looks like, this is still a real tricky time in terms of transition. And if you're not willing to blow through those rules, which you can argue they should be willing to do, then it's tricky to compete from a resources standpoint. From a resources standpoint, Jonathan Smith to this point in his career at MSU played with one hand behind his back. And that is one,
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all
Careful
that.
with that one hand behind your back.
That is why they lose at USC. That is why they couldn't compete last year with Ohio State and Oregon. It is not why they lost at Nebraska. And so, again, this is why these opinions from people, while some are maybe more than I agree with, are fair feelings to have, right? And it's not, some of it stemming from years before Smith and all that's pent up and he's bearing the brunt of that. But when you go somewhere and play a game where your team makes mistake after mistake after making, and your approach and your preparation looks inadequate, you're going to get these responses because this was not a Jimmy's and Joe's loss. And so they can't have too many of those. I mean, you lose people quick. And one of the previous commenters said, he's got one more bad game or one game away from losing the fan base. I don't know if it's, you can get the fan base back with a win in Michigan, so there are opportunities still ahead. But they've got
UCLA, it's a must-win this weekend.
This is a must-win. I keep saying that these referendum games are becoming too much, but this is one because if you lose to UCLA, you're 3-3, and there's just no way you're going 3-3 in the back end off that. And people would really. This is an enormous game. The last game was really big because it was a game that was a chance to be a pivot point for a season that was pretty good, and they blew it. This is a chance. You're just trying to salvage the opportunity to have some momentum, and you got to win this one to have it.
Izzo for Prez next. Cohen Carr is my savior. Let's go basketball.
That is the thing that saves MSU fans. And it also is probably one of the things that's hurt MSU football over the years. The people come November can go, fuck that noise. I'm over here at Breslin. And I'm telling you, those places in the South where they live in body odor and sweat all year long and they care about nothing else other than, their families and football and not in that order, there's something to that. It matters down there. I mean, they
take a shot if you're playing the couch drinking game.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a classic. Sparty Barb. On this Hot Take Monday, I'm going to be positive. Number 1, Cam Ward makes the all Big Ten freshman team. 2, MSU women's basketball sweeps USC and UCLA this season. 3, Grace Van Sluten logs in 10 double-doubles this season in bonus. Jackson Kohler makes first team all Big Ten.
It's a fantastic winner at Breslin if those 4 things happen. First of all, Jackson Kohler's first team all Big Ten, and I'm not saying he doesn't have the capability of having a really good season, but you're talking in a league now that's 18. I mean, I just had to do a bunch of these preseason all-conference team listings and rankings and stuff like that. When you get up to 18 and some of the teams, there are just a lot of dudes. It is hard to make the all-conference team. There are like 15 to 20 guys right now that you could see being first or second team all conference. And so if he had that sort of year, that would be MSU. It would mean MSU had a tremendous year.
Witty username next. Number 1, tight but undermanned is one thing. Loose and undermanned is concerning. And 2, I understand they want Childs to be pass first, but when that isn't working because of the wind or his play or whatever, why not run option? His legs got a score, and they didn't go back to what was working.
They didn't find anything that was working. I mean, he was running out of necessity. But you're right. The approach just wasn't very good. And the downfield approach, by the way, that was Nebraska's strength. And you could see even in those throws that didn't have a chance because they were overthrows or underthrows, the defense was plastered to MSU's receivers. They had good defensive backs. That was a real strength of Nebraska. But how you beat that? Quick moves underneath, quick passing game, and they just didn't do it.
Ryan Rockwell, number 1, Jonathan Smith's Oregon State 21-22 offensive line was the same flash in the pan that Mel Tucker had with Kenneth Walker. MSU has been too quick to pay guys that give us a glimmer of hope of getting back to that 2013-15 run. And 2, J-Bat's MSU career will be defined by what he does at the end of the season when the football team misses a bowl game. #call Pat Fitzgerald.
So the counter to the idea that MSU's been too quick to pay guys or hire guys that have given them a glimmer of hope is, Nick Saban was a coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. Nobody knew what he was going to do, and it took a while. He had 4 mediocre years before he had a great year and he left. Mark D'Antonio was like 7-5 at Cincinnati, and as soon as he left with his players, Brian Kelly took the program to another level. There have been a number of guys who have been successful, who you'd consider great coaches, who, you didn't necessarily see it. Now, the question is when you give somebody a buyout at this level. The problem is these days to recruit the coach you want, sometimes you got to do that. And so maybe you go with somebody else in that situation. I mean, this is going to be on Alan Haller, whatever happens with Jonathan Smith. And if it works out, and it still could, then Haller deserves credit for identifying somebody he thought was a really good coach and making a savvy, shrewd move. If he pissed off some of his donors and did it on his own, and it doesn't work out, and it costs the university a lot of money, that'll be part of his legacy too. But Michigan State's made a lot of hires that haven't worked out over the years, and Jonathan Smith certainly, regardless of what happens, not the worst of them, because at the time it seemed like a pretty smart hire.
MCV next. Nick Marsh needs to go to a team with a coaching staff that can better utilize his skill set. If and when that happens, the Jonathan Smith era is effectively over. And bonus, Penn State's AD needs to realize that James Franklin needs his full $56 million buyout. There are a lot of sports bettors he owes money to over the last decade.
If you're still betting on James Franklin, stop betting. Like that would be my advice in big moments.
You tell me.
I think Marsh wants to be at MSU. I think those guys want this to work. I don't think they feel like you do. I do think, though, that it was an inexcusable approach. They just you can't do. I mean, you've got weapons like that. Like those are your difference makers. It'd be one thing if it's windy, but your receivers are just good. Your receiving core is an elite receiving core. Like if you asked anybody outside of Ohio State, probably anybody outside of Ohio State in the Big Ten, if they would take Michigan State's receiving core led by Nick Marsh over what they had, they would say, yeah, like that's your advantage. And so you got to use it better than you did.
Matt Salisbury next. The fact that Smith didn't see anything wrong with the tackle is alarming.
He did see it. Just took him watching the film. So, and when you're a head coach, you're doing a lot. Again, it was not a great. It was an alarming comment when he made it. If he still felt that way on
but he's
Monday,
an offensive-minded guy, though. Like if he was a defensive guy, like I could understand getting by that. But
if you're somebody with a pulse who's watching the tackle, you're like, oh my goodness. Now, but it is interesting though. You say that, and even in the box, I was sitting next to Connor Eargood from the Detroit News, and he was replaying a number of the sacks of Aiden Childs.
Graham.
And a lot of the pressures, I think, were on Lepo and that right side and the tackles and all that stuff. But when you went back and looked at the individual sacks one by one, just the sacks, which don't count the hurries and knockdowns.
So Connor was watching that, and you were like over his shoulder watching him watch it?
Yeah, I was just breathing on his ear. And anyway.
What are you watching?
But it wasn't most of the things that you thought were on the right side of that offensive line sometimes weren't on the tackles. And so some of the things that in real time you think that's an issue with the tackles aren't. And so maybe even from a field standpoint, he's thinking, there's more to that, or this is why this didn't work, or the quarterback should have done this, because he's been, I don't know.
I thought they were great.
Yeah, it wasn't a great.
Guys played their hearts out over there. That's a good ball club.
It was not a good performance by the Tackles.
Spartan Dog 97. Smith's legacy will be him not seeing anything wrong with the tackle play on Saturday, and him joking about checking the Dodgers score on the sideline versus Michigan. And bonus, Haller did more damage to the football program than McPherson did, letting Saban walk.
No, that's not true. That's because the difference.
McPherson let him go over $500K, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, Saban. Yeah, basically said McPherson lied to him about. So it was not great. I mean, McPherson. That very difference because of what Saban became. I mean, MSU's football program was in shambles when Jonathan Smith took over. It won't be any worse than shambles when he leaves. You know what I mean? Like Saban, you lost. One of the great coaches of all time was in your house, and you didn't recognize it, and you let him get away, and you wouldn't have had him forever because that itch to go to the NFL. I mean, as Saban tells the story, he knew the NFL was a mistake. His agent basically said, which would you rather be, the next Vince Lombardi or the next I don't know who the guy was. Who's Alabama's great coach of all time before?
Gene Stallings.
Fuck. Look it up, not Gene Stallings.
Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant, thank you. Gene Stallings is a good coach, but
it's the first guy that popped in my head.
And he said Bear Bryant, and then he still took the Miami. He was going to take an NFL job at some point, but I think MSU could have gotten the LSU years, those 5 years, and what he had built, the way they were in the end of '99. I think MSU would have had a couple really nice runs under Nick Saban, and by then, maybe they would have had a more fitting heir apparent than Bobby Williams. Maybe D'Antonio would have been, although I don't D'Antonio the way I don't know if D'Antonio would have been the guy at that point, but I don't know where this point was going. What was the question? How did I get here? McPherson. The McPherson Saban thing's way worse. Sorry.
TMB. Number 1, the Spartans are soft, undisciplined, poorly coached, and have no identity. Doesn't help the coach has the personality of a rock. That's not very nice. 2, enough about the wind. Childs is closer to Braxton Miller than an NFL quarterback. RPO helps cover up a bad line. McCray, Kelly, and Marsh getting overthrown on every fade won't cut it. We are wasting the talent we do have.
The wind was a real issue down there. I mean, that was not. We've seen Childs throw good balls this year. I mean, that was not indicative of what he's been. But he's a way better quarterback than Braxton Miller. I mean, it just is. Miller was a flanker in a quarterback's body, playing quarterback, and that's not what.
But in pregame, when you're throwing the ball around on the field, you see it's kind of windy out. Adjustments is what I'm saying.
The approach sucked. The approach sucked. It's the least excusable thing of all this. You know, it was interesting what Smith said today about the idea of the special teams being something you sort of pat yourself on the back. You think it's a strength when you're addressing all these things in the bye week. You don't think that's a problem. And meanwhile, your next opponent sees a vulnerability that leads to a block punt, right? He talked about that. I mean, that was something that he said he's usually pretty good at, keeping a even keel and not and assessing everything, win or lose. And that sort of stuff's at least human nature understandable, right? Like they thought they had something great with their special teams that had been great, and something got neglected, and it was a really bad game for them. The approach on offense just made no sense given the conditions, and it's one thing if you try a few downfield throws and you're hopeful you can do everything, and it's just not working, and they just stayed with it. It just, you can't have 6 targets for Nick Marsh on any Saturday. That just can't be the case. If he's healthy enough to be out there, that he needs to be a double-digit target guy.
Tim next. Number 1, Childs being Smith's prize recruit and still being ass is not going to give the fan base any sort of confidence he can to turn it around. Imagine what this team looks like post Marsh and Childs, because none of the recruits in the past 2 cycles are even close to their caliber. And 2, how long does MSU have to be ass before their hatred towards Michigan sort of dies down when it becomes too obvious that they're just playing 2 different sports and MSU doesn't have the resources to compete? Maybe CMU really will become their biggest in-state rival.
Definitely a Michigan fan here, Tim.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Couple points. Childs isn't ass. He's not ass. He was really good for the 3 games before it, and he had a bad game, and it's just that's not really a fair statement or good analysis on that sense. To your point on Michigan State fans will, and I know this is just a snarky take here, but their hatred towards Michigan is not going to die down regardless. Michigan tried to keep them out of the Big Ten. It is deep-seated. It will be there forever. And if for a while, if there is a point where they're not playing on even resources, and they never have, frankly, they haven't. Michigan's always been one of the few athletic departments that's really beyond. I mean, Michigan State's always been a have as an athletic department, one that makes money. Only like 23 do, 25 tops. But Michigan's always been one of the top, 5, 6 athletic departments in terms of revenue. They've always been playing at a little bit different level in terms of that. But if it becomes an NIL or resource in terms of purchasing rosters different, then MSU fans will continue to demand that their administration get to that point and that their donors get to that point and finding ways to get to that point. They won't be satisfied because, again, they measure themselves against Michigan. That will always be the case. That's made this that much more difficult for Michigan State. Not only is the program falling apart, and predating Smith, but it's happened during an era where Michigan's risen up and a decade looks completely different.
Dino Spimi next. Michigan puts up 500-plus yards against USC and wins. Big Blue has one ranked team left on the schedule, run the table until the game, and they are a playoff team no matter what.
Yeah, I'm still curious to see Michigan. Like, I didn't think Michigan looked that impressive against Wisconsin. And Wisconsin maybe isn't as bad all the time as I thought.
No, they're ass.
Yeah, maybe they're all right. Yeah.
It was.
I'm still. Yeah.
Michigan let down a little bit.
I do think Michigan's schedule is favorable, but like, Washington. When are they at Washington? Is it 2 weeks? So they're at USC and Washington at home. Washington's not a bad, like, that'll be an interesting game. They ought to take care of that if they're really a playoff team. The rest of their schedule gets pretty easy until Ohio State, but they can't afford another loss. They already have one. You're not going to go 9-3 and get in the playoff. So, Michigan getting into the playoff is still in doubt. And I think there are, if I'm looking, and, in East Lansing, it'll be feisty. It'll be, as long as Michigan State things don't go really horribly and the wheels don't come off in the next few weeks, that's going to be a competitive game in East Lansing. It was last year before Michigan State sort of shit the bed at the end of the first half. When I look at Michigan's schedule, sure, Northwestern, Purdue, Maryland on the road by then, I don't think will be. But I look at least 3 losable games remaining. Are they capable of winning all of them? Absolutely. But I would be. I think if you had to bet, would Michigan win them all? I would. More than 4 losable games, counting Ohio State. 3 before Ohio State. So I would still bet against Michigan making the playoffs.
Company man next. Singular take of the week. Jonathan Smith was hired in the name of competence. Instead, Mr. Potato Head resurrected the SOS days, which traumatized generations. The fan base is grinding pitchforks, not for losing, but losing hilariously and grenading our eyeballs with dog shit football. Well said, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, if you look like a potato head yourself, by the way, you need a muskox flannel. And I think Jonathan Smith, probably more than anything, needs a muskox flannel. Go to gomuskox.com. They have some great new offerings. There are a couple that I'm looking at. And if you can pick and choose which muskox flannel you would like if you win our contest. Who needs it most? The ugliest listener. And again, this isn't, you don't have to be uglier than other listeners in that sense. You just got to be, we just need to see your worst photo being more severely ugly than your best photo. So the way this contest works, you got to send 2 photos together. An ugly photo of yourself, badly needing a muskox, a photo you absolutely love so that we can see the comparison with the hashtag CouchInTheRube And you've got till this Friday to do it. Couch in the Rube muskox, ugly photo, great photo. Got to see the comparison. And the person who most needs the muskox will win one, and you can choose which one you want, and I'll order it and have it sent right to you. Or you can just order your own at gomuskox.com. $15 off for Couch in the Rube listeners with the promo code Peacock.
Andrew Zuiza next. I'm not out on Smith yet. But what is so frustrating is MSU has won maybe 1 game they weren't supposed to in 3 years. Even other shitty teams get upsets here and there. It's a 3-year deja vu, and it's felt like we've been the worst Big Ten team for a long time. Those who want emotion ought to remember Gus Johnson is ass. And from Thomas, I'm in the being patient camp, but MSU needs to get to a bowl to look like they're making satisfactory progress rebuilding. And bonus, fans want intensity from Smith, not emotion. I loved Antonio, but man, he had maybe 3 facial expressions ever. There's no emotional range there.
Yeah, people want to connect. I don't think they feel like they connect with Smith right now. And winning helps you connect, but he's not somebody who they want to see you get pissed off. They used to love Saban, like yelling into the the headset as he ran, went up and down the sidelines, and D'Antonio looking pissed off when things go wrong, and they just want him to meet them where they are, right? And that's not necessarily who he is, and the strength of his strength may be that he keeps an even keel, but people don't see that as a strength. And when you're losing, people are never going to see that as a strength. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll get into more of your hot takes. Couch in the Rube, our Monday show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Firekeeper's Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen, Bar, or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, our Monday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. And again, if you want to win a free Muskox flannel courtesy of me and the Cleveland Guardians and the Tigers collapse, send in the ugliest photo you have of yourself. You can take one if you have one recently next to a photo you love of yourself so I can see the contrast. Hashtag Couch in the Rube Muskox.
Chris next. MSU has either won or covered in every game this year. They lost to a decent Nebraska team in Lincoln due to, in large part, to a block punt touchdown and a fumble kickoff. And fans are ready to burn down Smith's house. Building a program is a process. If you can't handle it, go watch a Hallmark movie.
I think it's exactly the opposite. I think if you watch Hallmark movies like me, you have more patience. You just think things are going to end well. And that's generally how I feel. Because I've seen the ending. The ending's good. They get together in the end, you know? That's how it works. There are a lot of different ways to look at it. I do think it's still a process. I do think Smith has not had enough time. But sometimes there can reach a point where you just know somebody's not the right answer. I think that rarely I don't think we have enough evidence of that yet. And there's not been a lot of promising evidence to this point, but there's definitely I shouldn't say. In my opinion, there's not enough evidence that he still can't be the right person at Michigan State. But things have to look different. You can't have days where your talent is enough on the field and what you bring in terms of preparation, approach, and discipline is not.
Steve Izzo next. Number one, special teams was an embarrassment Saturday. I know we have special teams coach, but what is Smith doing to help it? Hidden yards for Nebraska and a few good punt returns flip the game on a dime. No changes throughout the whole game equals poor head coaching. And two, I want to see Smith succeed, but now the cupcake first 3 games are in the rearview mirror. I see 2 wins the rest of the season maximum.
Yeah, and 5-7 for a second straight year will I don't think it'll mark the end of his tenure, but it'll not be momentum. And this program badly needs momentum. If you want this program to succeed, you want them to get at least 3 more wins. You want the bowl game. You want. I do think there are people out there who don't who are ready to move on and would rather. And Matt C. even bluntly said it. Would rather they're horrible, and it makes it obvious. I don't necessarily believe in that approach. I agree with you on the poor head coaching, though. It is ultimately, like, if you're the head coach and you don't like that Brian Lindgren's going deep, you get on the headset and you're like, hey, some underneath stuff. Let's do something different. And the buck stops with Smith forever. I mean, that as long as he's the coach, it always will stop with him.
Nate Hamilton, a team's special teams are a reflection of its coaching staff. Special teams penalties, substitution mix-ups, and kick return miscues in the 17-game Smith era all point to a lack of discipline and preparation.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. It was not a good game on the special teams front. Even Ryan Eckley, I didn't think was very good. Now the wind was bad, but where he put the ball was not where it was supposed to be a couple times.
Munfield Keg, is Chad Wilt the new Ross Ells? Guy is in charge of special teams and the rush ends. I know he was brought here because of his experience with Rossi, but at the end of the day, this is Jonathan Smith's program. A bigger assistant salary pool doesn't mean we are getting better coaches.
Yeah, let's see how it plays out this year. I mean, this was not a good day for special teams. Special teams duties are shared with a bunch of different guys on the staff, and maybe that's not the right approach. I don't know, but that has not been their issue. They've had a couple penalties here and there. Special teams have been the strength of this team. They had a really awful day. I don't know that they were ready to write that group as the weakness. Right off that group as a weakness.
Matt Drolet, I'm not confident this coaching staff can help Childs maximize his talents. Starting to think the kids are playing their tails off and the coaches are screwing it up.
Kids are playing their tails off. The coach is screwing up. Ah!
Wow.
I do that well?
Yeah, we just need a countdown next time so we know when to turn the volume. That was right in your ears there.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was good. That's one of your better ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I try.
It was intense.
It's my combination Howard Dean and John L. Smith.
Good old Howard Dean. Mark V, which is the biggest screw-up of the weekend? Smith leaving Childs in, or Hinch taking Scooble out, or Mark Sanchez getting stabbed and arrested and losing his job?
Mark Sanchez definitely takes it. It's definitely. No matter what.
He's like almost 40 years old, dude. What are you doing?
Unbelievable.
He's
what
there
a story.
for a game, dude. You're getting heat. Like, what are you doing? What kind of gunpowder are you putting in your blunts, dude, where you're doing like wind sprints before you get into a fight and shit? Like, what?
So if I take over the world, and there are a few things I would implement. One, that children under 18 wouldn't have access to social media. And if there was an argument to get rid of Twitter, the Mark Sanchez version of situation is one of them. Like the hot takes that came out when it looked like he might have been stabbed about Indianapolis. People, you got like fucking Dan Dockich out there going like,
well, there you go.
He's talking about, he's like, black people in downtown Indianapolis. And it's like, turns out it ain't that.
But that's his bit now. If I heard Dockich say that, I go, yeah, that makes sense. Dockich would say that.
If your bit is just being a racist prick, then you shouldn't have any followers.
Yeah, but that's Dockich's bit, though.
So if you're following Dockich, stop, okay? Stop right now.
Do you really need to tell people that?
Apparently, because he has fucking followers.
Blocked me years ago. Neurotic Pants. Number one, things are in my opinion still on schedule. Is that things are in my opinion still on schedule? But this shit traces back to D'Antonio losing a step and not letting go. Any good feeling I had about him as a public figure has dried up. And two, never forget the Vanilla Man Smith has rehabilitated one program before this one. No promises, more bad years.
Yeah, I mean, D'Antonio has a hand in this. Now, you say, well, there's been enough time since him. Yeah, but the coach after him, who took over for him, didn't get it there. So, this is absolutely. I mean, 2018-19, the defense may have still been elite in 18 and shown a little of that in 19, but there wasn't. They didn't have the young guys coming up in the program to keep it there, and it's just. Some of this is on him, and he also created the greatest year of modern Spartan football. But some of the stuff they're dealing with was the way he walked away.
Mojo Jojo, the delivery of the Blumpkin question is an all-time for me, on par with the creation of the Graham voice. The smooth, dulcet tones, the even measure, the slight hiccup with going right to Hoff so Graham could look it up. How did you not read into that? It was pure poetry. Hashtag salute the Rube.
Yeah, I did just say.
Thanks, Mojo.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what a Blumpkin was, and now I do.
Really?
I will not Google that again. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who wants one of those. Jay Riemenschneider, with MSU's offensive potential and after the Penn State defensive showing, that guaranteed loss isn't so inevitable. At the same time, with MSU's defense, the 100% certain UCLA win isn't in the bag either. And bonus, I'm with you, Graham. I didn't know what it was and had never heard of a Blumpkin. I, too, thought it would have been a fall-time coffee drink or pastry.
Thank you.
You and Jay.
Yeah, well, it does sound like a good drink. I mean, it's not, obviously, but it does sound like it could be. The naming of it is misnamed. That's part of the problem with the Blumpkin, is it shouldn't be what it is.
Well, I mean, for the act, it's a proper name.
It was true. Yeah, fair to that point.
As you saw in the video.
You're right. You're right on the fact that I mean, there is no guarantees in college football. That's the funny thing. What a game like UCLA beating Penn State does is it just takes the transitive property and says that doesn't exist. 19 to 22-year-olds just can't be trusted week to week, right? Because there's no you can't come up with a transitive property that makes sense from what we've seen from UCLA and who Penn State is a team. That is, but UCLA is not dead, and not being the dead man walking program that they were before that game is something MSU's got to pay attention to.
Big John Hogg next. Number 1, my new article, Bonnie Blue, Blumpkins in Beijing. How Couch made me laugh so hard I cried. 2, MSU has talent, but it's clear coaching is lacking. I hope they don't lose the locker room. And 3, baked or best, you decide. Izzo is making a Final Four with his team.
It's interesting. I was doing the preseason rankings for a number for the Big Ten one I do, and for the actual official one, for the USA Today one, for the writers one, a bunch of and all had a little bit different requests and what they wanted, and going through the different teams and different people had written about them, and there's some people who do it pretty well in the off season, and the Big Ten is going to be tough. But Michigan State is not getting overall, and I think you'll see that when these polls come out, enough credit for some of the stability and some of the guys they have coming back. And like Michigan, from a talent perspective, looks fantastic. But again, it's a new roster. There's some size versus guard talent questions. And they may be great. They may be fine. I think Purdue is the clear number 1. But, UCLA, everybody's really high on. But is Xavier Booker your starting 5? I mean, we've seen that. I don't know. I think MSU's not getting. They're going to need somebody to emerge. They're going to need guys to take steps forward. But they have a lot of good things coming back. I do think there's a chance that they're better than people think.
The Blumpkin Donut of Southern Maine next. Being protected by an offensive line populated with 12-year-old Palestinian boys may break Aiden Childs. Can you say that? You can say that. Baked. I'm the asshole that was optimistic MSU would be competitive. I took MSU plus 10.5, and I was punished for believing in my team when they went for 2 at the end of the game. Fuck me, I guess.
That was a weird time to go for 2. I didn't really understand that. MSU was plus 10.5. What? MSU was. I saw the line at 11.5. It got up to 13 at the end. You got the worst line, is what happened to you. They covered every spread that I ever saw. I never saw that game at 10.5. I don't think. Well, actually, I did. At the very beginning of the week, it was 10.5. You're right. It was up to 11.5, and I think it might have been 13 by kickoff. I'm sorry you got that line.
Ken Chu next. MSU's defense was much better. Offense and special teams will rebound. UCLA will be a tougher game than we thought, and Penn State will be easier than we thought. Going green.
Penn State will be interesting because where that team is, like, hold on one second. Give me some off.
The city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright in the hollow sky.
So Penn State, here's Penn State's 2 weeks before playing Michigan State on the road. November 1st at Ohio State. The next week, they host Indiana. Like, Penn State has an awful schedule then coming into that Michigan State game. If they lose one of those games, they're out of the playoff. Now, the beauty is their schedule's tough enough. If they have wins over Indiana and Ohio State in the same year and they win 10 games, and the loss to Oregon isn't going to hurt you, that's a forgivable run. They'll get in at 10-2. But they're going to have to beat Penn State or beat Ohio State on the road to do it. And they're going to have to beat Indiana. And if they don't, they could be a team that's lost 2 in a row. They could, who knows what kind of shape they'll be in by the time they roll in on November 15th. That schedule sets up well for Michigan State, which itself is coming off a second bye week at that point. So the Michigan State-Penn State game is one that if MSU could keep its season together, and this was just a blip and a really bad performance all around, then you like their chances there more than you did before.
Rocco from Chicago next. Number 1, the way to win at MSU in the new era is to be different. The way to be different is to attract and keep young talent and build depth over time. And 2, firing Smith is the exact opposite of what we need to do to build this depth and maintain it. And 3, We are taking our medicine this year, which is disappointing, but where the program was with Mel and in the NIL era, surrounded by Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, etc., we have to be patient and hope that Smith and staff clean up some mistakes over time.
And nobody wants to hear the word patience, and you can't ask people to be patient, and they shouldn't be able to be patient. What you have to ask is that people who can't be patient and are just downtrodden and heartbroken over and just angry over the last 4 or 5 years don't get to make the decision on Smith. That's what you have to try, because ultimately you want to make sure you make the right decision. You want to, if he is a good coach, then and he does. You can't know yet. Last week was really bad, but I just don't see a way you can know for sure yet. I do think there's a scenario when you can know for sure at the end of this year, and that could be problematic for him. But I just don't see how 17 games in, and if you're not going to give coaches 3 years at least, what's the next coach going to want for a buyout? We talk about it's irresponsible for like a $33 million buyout for somebody at this stage. You get rid of Smith after 2 years, the next coach is going to be like, yeah. So, you got to get this right. And it's not like Smith has never done it anywhere. When you hire an assistant who's never been a head coach, or a guy coming from a very different level where it didn't work, or where it worked but didn't have to, you can tell maybe somebody's overmatched. Rocco's right. As long as he is potentially the right guy, the approach is to just let this happen and not be toxic online, not let people think that. I mean, if you're being toxic online right now, and I'm not saying you shouldn't feel every way you are, but if you're being toxic online, you're not helping your program. You should know that. Like, that doesn't help. And now every fan base is toxic to a degree, but it does not help. Players, parents, the players, recruits, they all read this stuff. And so if you want to do your part,
But we have Chad Latz going around to all the the moms that have sons on the team, and he shouts them out, and so we have
there are lots of positive people. Lots of positive people.
Latz is going around praising God and all that stuff. So he's the one guy. He X's out faucet liquor.
And you don't have to have your head up your ass or your head in the clouds. I mean, you can be real. You can be concerned. You can have legitimate criticism, I think. And frankly, for the purpose of this show and replying to the show, we want your honest, harsh takes and all that stuff. But there's a lot of stuff out there that's beyond that. I think Justin Thin had a tweet that was sort of on point. Let me see if I can pull this up. Give me some Hoff real quick.
It looks so good tonight.
I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit. Well, he had a tweet just talking about people calling for people to be fired. He said, and at one point, replying to his own tweet of somebody else, he said, "Don't get me started on our fan base. I posted a highlight reel of a high school senior, and there were 11 replies referring to Smith's firing, all of which left the kid tagged and in their replies. Can't tweet anything without the angry mob throwing an emotional fit. And this during a season where every reasonable person predicted they'd start 3-2, and they have started 3-2. Should anyone be happy? Should anyone be happy? No, but the two options shouldn't be I'm happy or fire him." And this is a good point. There's no in the middle. Now, I think there are a lot of in the middle takes here. I think there's reasons to be concerned. Last week was a concerning game. There is no way around that. I just don't think yet you can be sure.
Mr. Benjen, hola from Buenos Aires. You gave coaching a grade of 3. Considering they had 2 weeks to get ready, the score should have been a 0. What's this team's identity? Where's the juice? That's the first half they draw up after a fortnight to prepare. Fire Smith now.
So I gave the grade a 3 out of 10, by the way. When I got a 30% on a French exam, it's safe to say it was not received well at home. 3 out of 10 is not a good grade. And I did think that the defense, because of the adjustments they'd made there, 5 straight stops, 5 sacks, forcing a 4th and 32, the defense played well enough to win that game. They had 2 weeks, and they brought something different. So that grade was really done on for the defensive staff and the way they prepared.
SLC Carl next. Number 1, offensive coordinators should spend at least 1 quarter, if not a half, on the field when there are windy or any types of inclement conditions. They're too comfortable in the coach's box. And Lindgren seemed to play calls too often as if there were no wind. I think it affects their judgment. If he was on the field, maybe he would have had the bright idea to, run a goddamn screenplay or shorter crossing routes to account for the wind. Just brain dead coaching today by the staff. And 2, the only thing more ass than rooting for a struggling team is rooting for a struggling team in the transfer portal NIL era. You used to at least take solace in knowing there's still another year of hope to develop and get better. Now everyone immediately assumes, rightly or not, everyone's transferring postseason or opting out midseason. The shit blows. And bonus, thanks for all you guys do. This pod is the life support my MSU football fandom needs during these trying times.
Appreciate you, Carl. Now, I do think there are a couple good points here. One is the angst created by the idea that you can't easily build something year over year because you got to always hang on to your own dudes, and you don't know if you're going to have Nick Marsh one year or the next, or this guy or that guy. Is while you can build quicker, it's one of the things that I don't think helps college football. You probably, the win, though, you should be able to tell from up in the box, and you should be able to see it. You shouldn't, I understand that maybe it helps in real time to realize down low that this isn't. But
look at the flags, or isn't there a windsock somewhere?
You're on the headset with your other coaches who are down there.
Hey, is it windy down there?
Yeah, how's it going?
Holy shit, man!
And in defense of him, they threw a couple screens that were overthrown that turned into interceptions from Childs. But yeah, it was not a good day for Lindgren.
PHBA next. Can we conclude that the cross-country games are a serious issue? Upsets can happen at any time. However, it had to be a serious factor in the UCLA-Penn State upset.
I think the loss to Oregon and not taking UCLA seriously had a lot to do with it. I think if Penn State took that game seriously, the cross-country would have been less of an issue. Yeah. And I think ultimately UCLA rose up and had a game where they really wanted to show themselves, and they played well. I'll be curious to see what UCLA looks like week to week. But yeah, it is a factor. There's no question that, and it's going to be a factor, moving forward because these teams are in the Big Ten.
Alex Mayer next. The good. I still think MSU makes a bowl this year. The bad. I think the Tigers have won their last game in the series. And the baked. Getting Graham to Google Blumpkin on the show was absolute perfection in podcast.
Yeah, getting all sorts of ads for things involving Blumpkins now, but otherwise, great.
Really?
Great. No,
what do those ads look like?
No, I'm just kidding. That is, I was a little worried about that. I was like, what's the?
Who's advertising Blumpkins?
I don't know, but there's
got to
be
porn sites. Like, why would they?
There's got to be a Blumpkin community out there somewhere.
Big
I don't
Blumpkin
know.
fan, come on in.
I don't know. Dude wipes. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
That's disgusting.
Sorry,
that's gross. Just made it too real.
I'm sorry. The Tigers have won their last game in this series. This tells you how bad this MSU game was. We have not had one take on the Lions, and no, they played the Bengals. It wasn't that big, and we've had very little. We got a few more coming up on the Tigers, but that's where people's heads are really.
Well, it's still tied 1-1. In the first game, so
I think they get one of these with the beauty of Flaherty and Mize is they're not. And Flaherty pitched well the last game, but odds are one of them will be ass and the other will be okay, right?
So Flaherty,
yeah, well, especially with Flaherty,
yeah.
I think they get to a game 5 back in Seattle, and then they get Scooball on the mound, and it's 50-50.
Could go either way. Professor, the Tigers strike out more than I do at the bar on ladies' night. Both are vomit-inducing to watch. And bonus, love Benetti on Tigers games, but I don't like him on college games. It bothers T too. It bothers T just because she's like, why doesn't he just do the Tigers? He should be doing the Tigers all the time.
Do you not like him on?
I don't mind. I seriously, I don't mind Benetti. There's certain guys I don't really hate any play-by-play. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, some are really like
it. Doesn't bother me as much anymore. I can let the guys go.
And he's not somebody like there are certain guys I really enjoy. Like I enjoy Buck and Aikman on Monday Night Football a lot.
Sure.
There are certain guys I really enjoy,
even though Aikman says nothing and he's so good at talking just right up until they hike the ball. How about your boy Tim Brando, though? There were some people who really just had enough of Tim Brando.
What did he do?
I don't know, just being Tim Brando.
Yeah. Most announcers are just. There are very few that really annoy me. There are very few that I'm excited to see doing the game. But they're in Benetti with the Tigers.
And people don't. Some don't like Benetti because he's like does the cheesy shtick. But I just go like, what are these guys supposed to do? It's supposed to. It's a family broadcast that they have to do. Like, how can you make that interesting?
So is this every time he's doing football? Teresa's like that
when we see him on there. Yeah, she's like, why isn't he doing the Tiger anyway?
Yeah,
she misses him on the Tigers games.
It is, but that's one of the best setups. The Tigers. Most places don't have Dan Dickerson to fill in. Like the Tigers do have one of the best
But even if he wanted, he signs that contract where he wanted to do some different games and he does different baseball games. And
he makes probably a lot of good money doing that stuff. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably makes as much money.
Shepard was making $500K a year when he was doing it. That's a lot of money. So.
I'm sure that Benetti probably makes as much outside of the Tigers as he does doing the Tigers.
Yeah. Jordan Villarreal next. Number 1, Fox has gotten out of control, changing from the Lions game to the Chargers game at the start of the fourth quarter in markets outside of Michigan. 2, I know MSU is heading in the right direction, but I don't know how much more of this rebuild I can take. I have faith in Smith. Not sure how much patience fans have.
They don't have patience, and that's again, they're not making the call, and that's where good leadership.
But can you have
matters.
patience and not like the way the team is trending and go like, okay, I can understand if you guys don't want to buy him out for $32 million. I'm willing to wait till next year, but what if it's 4-8? Like, I feel like that's what my opinion is. Like, I don't want to sit there and see the guy fired right away, but I mean, if it's 4-8, right? I mean, it's like, okay, what are we talking about here then?
What matters is how Jay Batt feels, how Kevin Guskowitz feels, how the top donors feel, how Izzo feels. Like, all these things matter.
I just think the math doesn't add up for Smith hanging around for a while, and that goes back with the 10 years of just awful football fans have watched. The Haller hire, because it's not a Jay Batt kind of hire, like you mentioned. When you're an AD, you want your guy in there because that guy's going to keep your job, right? So, like, I just think it's a mixture of all that Jonathan Smith is going through. It's just wrong time, wrong place for him sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, right.
I think you can feel that way and still be supportive of the football program and not enjoy watching what you watched on Saturday and let all of the other guy hot take kind of shit go on and go like, all right, well, I don't believe in that. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm going to ignore it.
And you shouldn't come away from Saturday hopeful. Like, Saturday was not a game to think, okay, Saturday was not okay. Like,
right.
That's beneath the standard anybody should want for their football program. Yep. And, even if the standard, like, people have different hopes for what Michigan State football will be. Some people want them to be Ohio State, and Oregon and can kind of compete there every year. Other people, if that team could be between 8 and 10 wins and sometimes competing for a playoff and every once in a while rise up and have the big year, that'd be great, maybe more realistic. But regardless of where you are for your dreams for Michigan State football, like, Saturday was not okay. You can't have that because that performance wasn't, again, it wasn't, they don't just have the guys yet. People can live with that, and that's a reasonable excuse when you don't have the guys. Sometimes you want them to play above themselves, and they have the guys at certain positions, and they didn't use them, and that's the other issue.
Tom O'Malley next. Jonathan Smith should start wearing big shoes and a red nose on the sidelines because he's a goddamn management clown. I think he's already burned 2 timeouts for the UCLA game. We don't need him. Only need 1 timeout.
Well said.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Sam the Man, long-winded hot take. Oh, I love these.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it because I can see it.
I edited it too.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. The frustration with Jonathan Smith is simple. He was supposed to bring stability. He was the safe hire. The Mel Tucker era had huge highs and brutal lows. And so far, Smith's tenure feels like it has the same floor without nearly the same ceiling. That performance coming out of a bye against Nebraska was unacceptable. Graham keeps saying it's better to give him $30 million to spend than pay the buyout, but I don't trust his staff, to build the right roster even with the money. Starting over isn't the death sentence it used to be, and if you're going to have the kind of bland personality Smith has, you'd better be elite somewhere. Scheming, leadership, player development, something. Right now, he's none of those.
So one of the questions with player development is how long it really takes to see it. Like Childs, for example, until this last game, I thought there was really good development there. I thought that was good player development. I think we'd seen some steps on the offensive line that we didn't see in this last game. Part of that may be injury-based and decisions on who to start at right tackle and all that stuff. How long does real development take? And, I talked to Smith about this before the year, and he said, in the NIL era, the rev share era, one of the things you battle is you have to think, if a guy is worth them, when do you cut bait on a player and go find his replacement in the transfer portal? It's very different than it used to be, right? And so I think these are all conversations that they're having. I don't think – I would agree that 17 games in, there's nothing that stands out elite, certainly. His argument is there have been some things that they've been better at this year until this last week. and that it's 17 games in. And there will be games coming up in the next weeks at Indiana, against Michigan, Penn State visiting, that will further define his tenure and the length of it and how people feel. So we'll see where that goes.
Ben Kramer, number 1, North Carolina is the worst Power 4 team this year. Also, Bill Belichick is not a serious coach. 87-103 in games without Tom Brady. And 2, I would rather be Penn State than Texas right now. This year's Texas team is the most overrated college football team in my lifetime. He says 27 years. And 3, Major League Baseball is not a serious sport.
I don't know what you mean by that. What do you think he means by that?
Gambling related. That seems like something I would say after losing it.
It's a frustrating gambling sport at times.
2-leg parlay that you watch. You spent 6 hours of grinding a baseball 2-leg parlay or something.
The most when I'm betting baseball, I lose on a lot of unders. I always think like early in the game, it's off to a decent start. It's like
you bet too much though.
Zero. What's that?
You bet too much.
Too
like
much
you're
money?
betting. No, just like
too often.
Your bets are too. You know what I mean?
Too frequent.
Yeah.
That's what you say. Yeah. Well, no, and I'll be live bet. Usually, it's like
that's what I mean. You're live betting. You're firing. So
it's
that's not the way I like to bet. Like
Yeah, it's you do a you do it better.
I do it a boring way.
Yeah.
Shep next. I think you are a pretty smart guy, Couch, but I can't wrap my head around your rev share NIL take. You seem to think that schools like MSU, who can't compete in today's NIL environment due to lack of funds, will somehow be able to compete once rev share starts. If today a competitive roster costs $20 million in NIL, pay for play, and tomorrow every school gets $15 million in rev share, all that means is that tomorrow is a competitive roster will cost $35 million. This is beyond obvious. Why don't you get it? And bonus, free column idea for you, Graham. A statistical breakdown and comparison between MSU defenses led by Chris Smealand, Scotty Hazelton, and Joe Rossi.
A couple things. One, rev share has begun. This is the first year of it. So Michigan State is paying its roster upwards of $15 million now, and they had the money. They had I'm not saying that money came easily, but that's the cost of doing business, right? That's what it is. Other programs right now are paying a lot more because rev share hadn't begun before July 1. I do not think roster is going to cost $35 million. I think a lot of places there have been donor fatigue. Michigan State's not alone in that. I think what it's going to cost, and then the money may go up with inflation and all sorts of stuff over time, but if you're putting $15, $16 million into football, I think the elite programs will have another 10, 12 to give it, because the rev share is part of what it's not like it's just adding to. I mean, they're not. That's just not the way it's going to work. Some of the money that's coming in to the universities from those same donors just isn't being put into collectives and other things. And Jay Batt right now, I mean, that's just not the way he sees it. So is being what he wants to do. They want it to be legitimate NIL. Now, I think that can get you burned, but there's a lot of Jay Batt love out there, and Jay Batt has the same philosophy on NIL as Alan Haller did. I think Batt may be in a better position to raise money, and he may be more shrewd in certain areas. But his philosophy on what he thinks is right and wrong and how they want to go about it is the same as Alan Haller's in that front in a lot of ways. So we'll see how it plays out and how nimble they are if other schools break away and do things differently. But the rev share has started. This is the first year of it. This is a combined year, and we'll see what it looks like a year from now. I think that gets real interesting.
Scott, you next. The UCLA game has the perfect makings for a get-right game for MSU. Number 1, motivation due to the road losses. 2, thanks, James Franklin. There is no way they overlook UCLA now. 3, noon kickoff. 4, defense has positive momentum. Will they get it done? Hopefully. And bonus, illness, practice, or no practice, get the ball in Nick Marsh's hands 10 times a game. These next 3 October games. Just simply do it. No excuses.
So to the I'll give you a fifth one here. I think UCLA may still be drunk by the time they pull up. I mean, I think they celebrated that win. I think they felt good, and they should. I mean, it's been a shit year, and that was a big win and a big moment by a staff that's probably not going to be there, and a lot of players aren't going to be there. Like I'll be very curious.
It's a long hangover, though.
Yeah, week to week, what they have. Now, I think they'll come out and try, and I think they'll try to prepare, but there is, man, that is a – and to be frank, if you're evaluating that staff, if UCLA comes in and looks focused and disciplined and plays well at Michigan State, then you might want to hire the people who are running the show now, because that's impressive. That's a really hard thing to do.
All right, Jarrett, if the Tigers make it to the ALCS, it is a successful season and an improvement from last year.
You agree with that? If they win this, if they beat Seattle and they're in the ALCS,
it's technically an improvement, but I will not forget what this team did to me.
Yeah,
Come on, I'm not. You don't want to talk about that. I mean, if they win the World Series, I'm still going to look back like, man, dude, 2025 was effing wild.
Well, and the other problem is
losing that division lead and having to listen to Couch and then have him come up with some Muskox flannel fucking contest because he actually put $25 on the Guardians.
33-1,
whatever. You know what I mean? Like the whole season it's stunk on ice of just like dealing with the ups and downs and the lack of hitting in the playoffs and sometimes So yeah, I mean, but if they win this series, sure.
So the problem I have with it is this isn't 1980s, early 90s NBA where like the Bulls had to go through the Pistons had to go through the Celtics. You get to the second round one year, the next year you get to the conference finals, you eventually get to the finals. Yeah. That's not the way it works. So yes, it would be a step further, but the idea that they could be a much better team. Baseball is so freaking random, and the postseason is such a freaking joke in terms of how it's organized that they could easily be better next year and not get as far. So it just doesn't.
But Scott Harris doesn't think it's random. I think that might be the problem.
Yeah, it's random. It's random as shit. Ask the 2006 Tigers. I mean, it's random. I mean, that's the 2013. I mean, it is not. I'm not saying you don't have to be good to win the postseason. I'm not saying you don't have to be playing well. It's just not. I mean, look, if I were the Mariners, I'd be annoyed. The Tigers have to win. I mean, and granted, they beat Scuba already, but they got to face that guy again. The Tigers don't need much pitching depth because twice you got to beat Scuba. That's kind of shit. And I mean, that shouldn't be the way. I understand they're going cross country and all that stuff, but to me, there should be one day off in a series tops.
Austin Wolf next. Number one, UCLA game no longer looks like a lock. 2, really not sure why Marsh isn't averaging 8 to 10 targets a game, whether he practiced during the week or not. That's kind of a poor excuse.
By the way, if you want to watch the Tigers and Michigan State football and other games, you can do it on the Xfinity Multi-View. Also, a good, if you're not thrilled with your phone plan right now, go to Xfinity.com. Check out their mobile offerings. You likely will save money. They've got the same coverage plan as Verizon, but some awesome deals there with Xfinity Mobile. You can bundle home internet and mobile as well. They have some great they have great offers for just that. And so my best, if you feel like your whole entertainment operation is a little too expensive and you're not getting everything you want, try Xfinity, and you may just find exactly what you're looking for.
Kurt Wisniewski next. Number 1, Nebraska football fans are the best hosts in the business. We could learn a lot from them. And 2, MSU football's regression after a bye week shows that Smith can't get this team to lock and load. And 3, my group is 0-10 on the road MSU games. There are not enough groovy donuts for this pain.
So Kurt was in Nebraska. They do a road
so
game
he's
a year.
0-10?
That when they go to a game, they're 0-10. Holy smokes!
I got to say, I think I'd stop going. I'm superstitious, dumb like that. Yeah.
I mean, you probably ought to start going to rivals games if you care about.
Kurt's not dumb, so he'll probably still go. So but yeah. I'm superstitious. Like if the Lions, we went and saw thankfully, we've been very, very lucky, and the Lions haven't.
So
lost.
if how many Lions games would you say you've been at since the Lions have been good and relevant and playing important games?
Including away, 10? No, I don't know, 8 to 10.
8 to 10. So if
with 2 on the road, I believe.
Okay.
With Green Bay and Chicago.
So if they were like 0 for all your, would you stop going? Would you feel like you were hurting the Lions?
Yes, absolutely. I'm dumb, superstitious. Like I know it doesn't mean anything. Like no one cares if I'm there or not, but it's just for my personal thing. I just would not be able to. Like, dude, if my branch, you know what I mean? Like if they have a bad game, like the Green Bay game, I took my branch jersey off at halftime. Just dumb stuff like that. I don't know. Try to switch it up. It's so stupid.
Hey, I got a Barry Sanders jersey for Christmas in '95. They immediately lost to the Eagles in that game where Perriman tore his ACL and they were dreadful in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I viewed that Barry Sanders jersey as cursed and eventually sold it in a garage sale. Somebody else is cursed now. I didn't want that. I was going to get hit by a truck or something. That would be that is a story almost worth telling, but told anyway. Presented by our friends, by the way, at Midtown Brewing Company. Really great weekly specials throughout October and all the time, and also some fun fall cocktails going on right now, including the Cauldron Mule, the Van Gogh Martini, Harvest Sangria, Cider Mill Margarita, Salem Sour, some great stuff that they do at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Great place for a date night, a dinner out, catch a Tigers game, a football game, whatever it might be.
Kevin from Rochester Hills, loss in Nebraska is the beginning of the end for Jonathan Smith. And bonus, Arch Manning is a D2 quarterback.
Ooh. He doesn't look good. I don't really know what's going on. I mean, he's obviously got some talent, but I don't.
Does he?
I think.
He's got that Manning gene.
Does have a name. Like, the question is, if my last name was Manning and I was on a football field, would people think I had talent?
Graham Manning.
Yeah.
Not with those arms.
That's true.
Not with the arm length.
Oh my! They'd be like, who let the T-Rex out here? What the hell? Yeah.
Be flipping those balls. Richard Kane, Graham said, find me a defensive backfield in the NFL in the last 10 years anywhere that's had 4 or 5 guys that have played more than 13 games. Okay. From 20 to 24, AFC East teams had 16 years where at least 6 DBs played at least 14 games. That's just one division in just the last 5 years.
Right, so 6 DBs played at least 14 games. Starting, well, how about starters? I mean, everybody's got yeah. Somebody else did some look in this, and it's there's less than you think. And look, maybe the Lions did have bad luck last year, but if you look at what like the Chargers offensive line or what the Ravens are going through,
oh yeah.
I mean,
we didn't say we're the only ones.
Happens
it
everywhere.
Just feels like it's a constant mash unit. And on Mondays and Tuesdays, we sit there and wait to see who guys are going to play.
And sometimes there is really bad luck with it. I think defensive backs are just a position that gets hurt a lot. But and including with Jacksonville when they draft a guy who should, they're deciding DB or receiver. Because if he's a DB, he's just on injured reserve. That's how that whole thing works. The thing that drives me nuts is when it's the idea that it's like the trainer's fault. Like they got to fire their strength and conditioning and trainers people. Otherwise, I mean, the odds that the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, Michigan State football, and basketball have all had the worst trainers in the world over the last 20 years. Just those teams is just
it's unfortunate.
It seems unfortunate. Yeah, it's
unbelievable. What are the odds of that?
Amazing.
Lions reply guy Graham, you keep talking about did you read this one? No. Graham, you keep talking about injuries in the NFL, but you're way overstating it. The Eagles had 21 of 22 game 1 starters play for them in the Super Bowl. The Lions were snake bit last year, but your take is trash. Respectfully.
The Eagles did have a charmed year, and that's part of making it to the Super Bowl. I mean, you do have to have sometimes that charmed year. You either have to have a great quarterback or the charmed year, and the Eagles have Jalen Hurts, so they have to have the charmed year.
Chris King, when MSU was up 21-14 in the third quarter and Nebraska got the big gain on 3rd and 10, you just knew they were in trouble. That crowd was turning on Nebraska, and all the momentum was with MSU. That play completely flipped the game.
It was a bad one. And, it was one of the things I talked about before the game was could they get Nebraska's crowd to get surly on them? And you could feel it there. I mean, they had some possessions that were really bleak, and people were not happy. And Michigan State blew that. They had a chance to really keep it that way.
Jeff Peterson next. This game felt all too familiar in its Jekyll and Hyde back and forth play. Smith showed some emotion in the post-game conference. However, I'm beginning to think that as much as I think he was a good hire, he might not be the best fit. Ooh, can you think like Jeff? You think that he was a good hire at the time, but might not be the. Can you say that? Is that okay?
Very reasonable take.
Oh,
Jeff.
okay.
Very reasonable take, yeah.
All right. Matty B. Number one, this MSU coaching staff has put how many complete games together since they've been here? That's my problem. Not patience, waiting for depth building. The OC may as well be doing coloring books between executing the run into the line on first down every time game plan. 2, you ignored it Friday, but I asked where did we earn the right to be arrogant against UCLA and assume that was a win. Well, here we are. Purdue looks about even with MSU in year 1. We have been passed by Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's taking a nice approach with their NIL and everything. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, we'll see where this all goes, but it's a fair. They shouldn't be arrogant against UCLA. They shouldn't be arrogant against anybody. I thought, and I was wrong about this. I thought UCLA was completely dead. I thought there was nothing Penn State could do out there that would cost. And UCLA, to their credit, to their staff's credit, showed some life.
Why would you think they had any fight? Right, UCLA.
There was no sign of it.
Yeah.
There was zero sign of it. And sometimes you get the new coach, new manager bump. You see that in soccer. And maybe this was just that. Look, there has not been complete games. The Iowa game last year is pretty much it, and there are elements on. Yeah, I mean there are parts of the Boston College game, and again, Boston College just holy shit, what's happened to them since. But that Boston College team was not horrible when that game was played, and that's one of the hard things for people to realize. They just weren't. I've watched that game back now because I had to do the whole commercial thing, with when I was doing the story on like how bad the commercials were with NBC and Fox and all that stuff, and that was not the team that played in Spartan Stadium that night would not have lost to Cal or Stanford, and would have not lost 46-0 to Pitt.
C-Dubs 91, number one, constantly blaming poor performances on the field and not being 100% healthy is getting stale. Just say you weren't prepared and got out-coached and promised to come out better next week. And two, the first weekend in October is the best sports weekend of the year. Prove me wrong.
We got everything going because of the playoffs, and yeah, I mean it's a good time of year. I don't know, other than the baseball playoffs, I don't. But yeah, it's up there
during the Ryder Cup year. The end of September is awesome too.
Yeah, I mean this
whole thing.
So you get the Premier League this coming weekend. With the international break in soccer is complete ass. But otherwise, yeah.
Spartan Frank, number one, no more Smith doesn't have the horses. We're not asking to natty this season. It takes zero talent to step in front of a free rusher and not get your punter killed. Zero talent to not shit yourself on a slightly unusual kickoff. And two, he's done after the season. It's obvious. He was great pre-NIL. Tough shit. Look at Fickle and Dabo. Game has changed. Let Bat get his guy. And P.S. could be worse. Could be a Cardinals fan.
Bad finish for the Arizona. Yeah, not great. I don't know if Smith was great or would be great in the NIL area. He hasn't had the NIL resources, right? So that's the issue. And if your donor base is, the real question is where the donor base is on him, where J Bat is on him, and what resources are going to be there for this staff and this team. And there are a lot of different ways to look at it. But I don't know how somebody like Ishbia feels right now, and how much that's going to be needed, because it is a different era. It'll be to me, the most interesting thing going forward beyond what's happening with the football program is J Bat and his willingness to adapt and adjust and do what needs to be done in an era where you're going to have rev sharing. But what's going to separate a lot of programs is that secondary funding, wherever it comes from, however it's brought in, that you're able to compete at that level. And watching that play out is going to be interesting.
Chris from New York next. Going for two when down 11 is a microcosm of why fans are so frustrated with his staff. A pointless, nonsensical decision that wasn't even given, or to give you a chance to win, even if the game was already decided. Do they not understand math?
Yeah, it was weird. It was at the end of the game, so it didn't become a big story, but it was weird. It was weird.
John Johnson, number one, does Smith feel any heat regarding his job, or does he seem assured he has at least next year, no matter what? UCLA now looks like, at minimum, a toss-up, and even if Saturday was an outlier, their quarterback can go nuts on any given game, and MSU defense is primed to make him look like a top 10 pick. And two, if MSU loses out, is Smith gone, or is your sense he's back no matter what?
Loses out. I mean, that's a 3-9 year off a 5-7 year, and the spiral that would feel like if that were to happen, I think they'd have to figure some things out. That I don't think that happens, but and it's a good question what Smith feels. I'm sure he feels some heat from the fan base, but I don't know. I don't know how he feels on that front. I would think he knows he's got. If I knew if they fired me, they owed me $33 million, I would not feel heat. I wouldn't feel heat regardless. I would just be like, I'm going to do my job, and if they don't want me here, I'm going to go have a lot of money, and I'm good with that.
Rich, number one, especially coming off a bye week, this was John L. Smith level embarrassing. Blocking was awful. Special teams looked like a Chinese fire drill. And two, after UCLA decided to wake up and destroy Penn State, I don't see how this team wins another game. As a result, our best players, Marsh and Hall, will bail on this team.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty doomsday way. I mean, UCLA did not destroy Penn State. Penn State played a just wickedly shitty game, and UCLA played well. But
and the onside kick.
I think Michigan State is appropriately a 7.5-point favorite.
Pepe Plum. The only team that looked worse than the Arizona Cardinals this weekend was MSU, and that Cardinals debacle will be on a bloop reel forever. Do you think that will stop the Cardinals, the guy that just dropped the ball in front of at the 1 yard line, man, which has happened year after year, and guys get ridiculed for it, yet guys still do it?
It's amazing how it happens.
I don't understand that.
It would be my biggest. I would be holding on so tight to make sure I
would never ever drop the ball in the field of play. Like I would be in the, when you're in the end zone, sure, drop it.
I don't understand.
Even then, I don't know if I would. But how do you do that?
If you're all questioning it, run through the end zone. Do what you got to do. Like just don't. Yeah, I don't get it.
Gramanito Couch. Chris Ilitch needs to give Tarek Skubal half of Little Caesars. Tarek's done more for Detroit baseball than Ilitch has once he got the team from Daddy.
Ilitch is just such a non-inspiring character too.
He's a penis.
Sorry. Yeah.
Clint, 1 ball Baney, 5 sacks and no victory on Saturday. That's a shame. 2, Michigan State needs a national championship in something over the next 2 years, or I'm going to start watching soccer. Wait, I'm never going to watch soccer. 3, Tigers beat the Mariners at home.
Michigan State could use the basketball season last year for MSU was tremendous. I mean, it was invigorating for a lot of people. To win the Big Ten by 3 games, get back to the Elite Eight, right? I mean, the problem is football set such a mood for a while. The good news for MSU is that it doesn't set the mood all year, and basketball does that for them. And then whether that's good or bad for the football program, I don't know. But it sets the mood for a while, and then people move on.
Stephen Osborne next. How does MSU do offensive line roulette the first 4 games of the year? And then Saturday, leave the right tackle in there for 3+ miserable quarters without trying something else. Made no sense. Also, hire a full-time special teams coordinator already.
So part of it is that they were down a couple guys, and so they don't have the roulette to play anymore. But Connor Moore to the right side would seem like, in his more natural position, would seem like the move to make instead of putting him over on the left. That would be my move, and I don't really understand, If that doesn't happen this week, I think that'll be, and it may just be because it's where other guys are most comfortable, and you have to assume that. I mean, Jim Mahalchek's been, he's not an idiot. I mean, the guy's, I think, thought of as a good offensive line coach, and I think he put forward what he thought was the best offensive line. It just if that's it, then MSU's in trouble.
Zach McHimstry next. The long-term cost of keeping Smith and becoming irrelevant in football is much higher than the buyout. And Graham, did he seem extremely rattled in his post-game presser? And bonus, this playoff TV schedule is so ass-backwards, I can't wrap my head around it.
With the day games, the night games, and it's at least they're at night now, right? Seattle.
No, they're at like 4.
Oh, today's at 4. Tomorrow's at 4.
Tomorrow's at like 3 or 4, and then the other one's at 4.
It's not
or 3 or something.
Yeah, Smith did not seem rattled to me. He seemed. No, I don't. I have not. Smith does not look rattled. That would not be. I've seen coaches look rattled.
This is me rattled. I'm rattled. You didn't even know it.
Yeah. He did not look rattled yesterday or on Saturday.
Lucas, now we know why Smith gave J-Bat that game ball after the Western win. If we miss a bowl, a check may be cut to Jonathan to get the fuck out. We cannot afford to wait years for a rebuild. Look at what Sig and Elko did right away. No excuses.
Well, a couple things. Elko right now is playing with a well-financed, probably $8 million defensive line. So those are some advantages. I think
Lucas said no excuses.
No excuses. Well, okay. No excuses.
Just gave one.
There you go.
He said no.
No, I mean no excuses. No, none. But and Cignetti brought in 11 guys with him, and maybe that's the future. I remember when Tom Onassis was the MSU hockey coach, and he was preaching patience and how long it took to rebuild and how early hockey players are recruited. And the thing I struggled most with is I had just come from covering Western Michigan when I lived in Kalamazoo, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I'd watched the Jeff Blashill one-year era where they were just awful, and he took over, and then all of a sudden they made the NCAA tournament year one. And it wasn't just the way they practiced and the culture and everything. He also had all these USHL ties, and he was able to identify certain guys late and recruit them, and the Keisner and who was the other guy? There was a bunch. There were like 2 or 3 NHL guys and other really good college players.
Cockburn.
And so, point being, like, I thought, well, then that's got to be the approach. You got to, if your program's been shit forever, nobody has the patience for this. Go get somebody with ties to the, and look what it's done for Adam Nightingale, who right away, had got the flip of Augustine at goalie, who was committed to go to Michigan, had played for him on the national development team. Like, that stuff matters. And so maybe, and look, in Michigan State's situation, they got Aiden Childs out of that. Look, Kirk Cignetti is one of one. He should have been hired years ago. I mean, every AD who didn't hire him for the last 20 years probably should be fired. I don't know. The guy's a freaking brilliant coach. Why didn't Mark Hollis hire him? Why didn't Bill Beekman and Alan Haller and who's Michigan's AD? What's his nuts? Jason, do you think that Bill Beekman? Why am I blanking on the big guy from Michigan?
Because we're 2 hours and 5 minutes in, and you're telling your Blashill story for the 900th time. Jesus. What are we doing here?
Let's keep going. Right. Sorry, Ward Manuel. Thank you.
Yeah. Josh Inwood. Graham, you've been watching this MSU football team for a year and a half. What can you point to that says we are laying any kind of foundation for future championships? We are a bottom third of the league team right now, and I don't see that improving anytime soon.
Yeah, there's nothing you'd point to right now. There isn't really. So you need to still see it, and that's that.
Believe it. Peasy. Jonathan Smith is not going to pan out. Saturday made that clear. The special team fuck-ups were obvious, but continuing to trot out that turnstile at right tackle was pathetic. And bonus. Very excited for the Pistons to be back. Thinking Cade gets into MVP convos if he's more efficient.
Yeah, look, I'm intrigued by this Pistons team. I want to watch them. It's fun having the Pistons be good again. You hope the Red Wings are competitive because the winter nights, man, when you can go, I mean, it's just like when the Tigers are good. When the game comes out, it's like, oh, the Pistons play tonight. Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah,
he said that.
Yeah.
Dan Mack, was there any explanation why the coaches decided to move Connor Moore from right tackle to left tackle instead of keeping him at right tackle and starting Rustin Young at left tackle? Young seemed to play decent at USC.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's been specifically asked like that. There've been a number of questions about their decisions there, and I just think they thought this was the best. And there'll be more. I think we get the coordinators on Tuesday, and maybe that'll be very specifically asked.
Maldog next. Lepo is unplayable moving forward. The offensive line, except for Goldman, has been a major disappointment this year. And big take, I still believe we make a bowl game with wins against UCLA, Michigan, and Iowa.
It's very possible this team is going to be okay in terms of the bowl. I mean, I just told you that the Penn State scenario. I think Michigan will be competitive. I don't think Michigan's going to run away from them. I think they'll beat. I still think they'll probably beat Maryland and they'll beat UCLA based on the team they are. So can they get another win somewhere? And I think it's. If you told me right now, I was asked earlier, better chance 3-9 or 7-5, and I said, yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to go 3-9, but I would take 3-9 if I had to bet it over 7-9 or 7-5. I would take 6-6 over 4-8 though, in terms of what I think this team will be. I think they get to 6 wins.
Balky Bartakimus next. Number one, all I expected from Jonathan Smith was a stabilizing presence that would set a good foundation for the next coach. To me, he was always the guy before the guy. After this week, I no longer believe that. We're heading towards another rebuild, whether Smith is gone now or is allowed to stay. And two, the game plans and in-game decision-making continues to be mind-boggling. If you're going to be an emotionless, uninspiring dullard, it has to be balanced with an exceptional football IQ and brilliant mind. 17 games in, and I don't see it. What's one thing he has done that's above average?
No, those are fair questions. And it hasn't been an above-average tenure to this point, and you need to start to see above average. It's very fair. That criticism is very fair.
Nate Hamilton, number one, a team's special teams are a reflection of its coaching staff. And two, special team penalties, substitution mix-ups, and kick return miscues in the 17-game Smith era all point to a lack of discipline and preparation.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? And I don't think it's week to week, though, with some of this stuff. I think there have been some substitution stuff. There's been a couple special teams penalties. This was a really, really bad week. Like USC, I didn't leave the USC game at all. I thought they may have real problems on defense. They fixed some of those, but I thought the other areas were really good. And this was not that.
G.E. Miller, halfway through season 2, and you are looking for increasing talent level in all phases. A team identity, player preparedness, and coaching competency. We're not seeing any of that. But with this buyout, the program will be stuck in purgatory for years. Baked. Giving any coach a $33 million contractual buyout in this day and age and handcuffing the future of the program is AD malpractice and a fireable offense. That could be a number one reason why Haller is no longer here. Inexcusable. If a coach demands it, move on. Second baked, I'd like to introduce the James Franklin comparison index. If your fan base would gladly trade your current coach for James Franklin, it's time to make a move. If not, stand pat.
I don't know. I think there are 70, 80. Well, even in Power 5, say the 64, whatever Power 4 schools, I think there are 40 that would trade what they have for James Franklin. I do.
Pig Miller, Jay Batt needs to call the big donors, start fundraising for Smith's buyout. Another rebuild wouldn't put us further behind than this team already seems to be.
If it ever gets to that point where you have to do it, it's worth doing, because that one player, you may lose a Nick Marsh, you may lose a Aiden Childs, whatever. That stuff's never worth the short term hoping some guy gives you something, some great season than what you need long term. If somebody stops being the answer long term, you have to make the move, regardless of how much short term pain there is. I just don't think they're there yet.
Couch on Fire, advice to teams: Spartans start Eliseo and throw 50% of passes to Mini Megatron. You think their approach is better? And Lions, keep a couple of defensive backs healthy. Tigers, please stop striking out so much. And Baked, Red Wings finally end the last playoff drought.
By the way, you can get the Red Wings at like plus 200 to make the playoffs. It's a nice preseason bet on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. I would look at that.
Original Dark Mantonio. Number one, Mark D. ruined MSU fans under 40. Think they should beat Michigan every year and strive for Ohio State isn't historically real. MSU has 9 Big Ten titles in 70 years. He was a 10-year anomaly. You should have wants, but live in reality. MSU has never and probably won't ever be a true big dog, and that's fine. 2, flaming take, and if you keep ignoring my Mel Tucker, Jonathan Smith question, Graham, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. Omendeer the show, meet you at a flight of steps and do what you did to the gay guy, or something even more sinister.
Hey, man, nothing happened to anybody. There's no pushing. There's nothing. To your first point, though, Original, on Michigan football, Michigan State football and it not being the norm to compete with Michigan. That is true. But, also Woody and Bo, were the ears of the Veer offense, and, those guys couldn't coach high school football today. I mean, everything's changed. Nebraska was great, and they haven't been able to get it back since. So I don't buy that you can't get there again. I just think you need to find the right guy, and so far Smith hasn't shown he's it.
Blow boner next. Fuck my life. An optimal sports weekend ruined by State's bed shitting. Seriously dead inside.
You're not alone based on these takes.
Neither am I. I'm dead inside right now. 2 hours, 15 minutes. Holy shit. Hans Jurgen, number one, before you're too hard on Childs, remember Spartan greats Connor Cook, Kirk Cousins, Tony Banks, Jim Miller, Eddie Smith, Jim Ray, Earl Morrill, and Willie Thrower all lost in Lincoln. 2, okay. Miller, Smith, Ray, Morrill, and Thrower never played in Lincoln, but Cook, Cousins, and Banks did and lost. 3, the Browns should really stop. Bonus, did you really think I would follow the hot take instructions?
I never do, Hans. I never do. Thanks, man.
The Hawk, next. Number one, huge opportunity blown on Saturday in Lincoln, Nebraska that was absolutely inexcusable coming off a bye week. You can't play sloppy football after having a week off. Jonathan Smith, I know you played and coached the game for a while, but no problems with the offensive tackles. You can't be serious. And 2, Fox's Major League Baseball coverage is getting to be watered down. The strike zone looked inconsistent most of the time. It's hard to tell the difference between a ball and a strike. Plus, why the hell don't they show the pitch clock? Come on now. Maybe I missed Joe Buck calling MLB games on Fox. And 3, I started watching Lioness on Paramount Plus and can't believe I waited this long to start. It's another damn good one from Taylor Sheridan. Plus, Zoe Saldana is gorgeous and a badass. If you guys haven't checked out any shows created by Taylor Sheridan, you don't know what you're missing.
There you go. Paramount Plus, Lioness. I haven't heard of that. Have you heard of it?
No.
There we go.
And finally, the Upper Deck Jerk Guy. The Detroit sports renaissance will be epic. Big take. Everything is fine with Michigan State football. Takes long, slow bong hit. Smith just needs some more time to bring in his players. And takes another long, slow bong hit to develop his program his way.
Being stoned while watching Michigan State football, that may be, maybe we have to go back to the pure options days here to get through a season. Yeah. Jason, I owe you a tea, like reading all that through this. That was a long one. We got through them all. nobody got left out, and there were a lot of good takes. Some reasonable, some hot. We appreciate them all. We appreciate you all, and frankly, your passion for Michigan State and other sports and commitment to the show is why we do it. So we appreciate you. Again, if you want to win a Muskox flannel, picture of yourself looking good, picture of yourself looking like shit. We need to see the contrast. Hashtag Couch in the Rube Muskox. Couch in the Rube Muskox. You got till Friday, and we will pick one person. You can always go to gomuskox.com and order a flannel. $15 off with the promo code Peacock. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company here in downtown Lansing and Xfinity. Go to xfinity.com, type in your address, see the latest offers for you. We'll be back, we think, Thursday this week. We got some scheduling stuff going on Thursday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.